so much for joining me here this evening, and welcome to Saturday night. It has been a few days since I've been on live. I'm going to give it a few moments here to see who comes into the live stream. I have missed you, missed you, missed you. Oh my goodness, I've missed you. But I did something real crazy and had to take a few days off because of it. So bear with me a moment. I'm going to see who jumps in here. I did something crazy too while I was coming into this live. I don't know if anybody's going to be able to see it. If they don't, then I will redo it and then come back in if I have to. Well, nope, somebody's can. Welcome, welcome. How are you? And welcome to the live stream. Let's see who we got coming in here today. I'm happy that you're here regardless. I have missed you guys a lot, a lot, a lot. I did not think it was going to be this long before I went live again, but I went and dropped my phone in water. So I had to take a few days off and dry it properly because my Apple Care has expired as well as my warranty, and I did not have money for a phone. Hey, Shawty, what's up? What's up? What's up? Glad to have you in here. Hey, Zach DeBruin, how are you? Oh, awesome. Appreciate you. Appreciate you. Good night, Zach. Are you leaving? Oh, no. Hey, Valerie, how are you? I missed you too. I was just saying, I missed you guys. I did not plan on being away this long, but I went and dropped my phone in water, y'all. I was like, oh my God. I was so scared because I don't have Apple Care anymore. My warranty is long since overdone, and I'm not working right now. So I couldn't afford a phone, so I had to be real careful about doing the right thing to make sure that it didn't corrode. I had to power it down, and I left it literally. I tried the rice thing for a minute, then I did some further research, and they said that ain't just the right way to go. So I left it in front of a fan so it could fully dry out for the full 3 days. But yeah, oh, Shawty, yay! Congratulations. I am so happy for you. Hopefully, I get one this week because, ooh, and ooh. Honestly, as much as I don't want to work, I do know I need some startup capital to be able to drive some of the things that I've got an idea to do. Because even with the faceless channels and stuff, that me dropping that phone made me realize I need some kind of a backup camera situation. I need a storage situation. I need a laptop. There's some things I could start some faceless channels, but I need to be able to. It takes a little bit of money to get those things going. So yeah. No, no, I wasn't taking no refreshing break. I mean, I kind of sort of need to. That's the conclusion I came to at the end. Since I did have to take that time off, I was like, you know what? I'm gonna really, really make a fresh start. As of tomorrow, really, truthfully, the 18th. I'm gonna restart the fast because I had been doing. I had convinced myself I could do the every other day, every 3 days, and that's fine, but the initiation fast that I know I'm supposed to do, I got to do better. So I was like, maybe I'll do 100-day challenge or something. But anyway, like I said, coming up to 18 was going to just be kind of a reset for everything. And I don't know how it's going to work itself out, but unless or until I actually get another job, I am going to have to make a more intensive online schedule for YouTube. And then, like I said, we talked about whether it will be advantageous for me to segue over into TikTok. I think I'm gonna start the second channel here and try to get that, hurry up and get to past the 50 so I can do the live streams. You think so, Zach? Well, actually, I have. I didn't know if anybody could see it yet. I've lost, like I said, about 20 pounds through the fasting. So some of the inflammation is coming down, but it at this point it's not even about the weight loss, it's more about obedience. Hey, Antoine, it will get better. Again, I'm not, when I'm talking about the things I'm going through, I'm not at all giving, I don't want nobody to think I'm complaining or I'm upset. I mean, yeah, we all have financial issues, bills pressing and things like that, but I'm not whining about it. What's supposed to happen will happen. I'm trying to keep an open mind. I'm keeping my mind open to another job just because I know that might be a temporary solution to get some of that stuff under control. Because I still have hope that the finances, the situation, everything's going to work out some kind of way for me to be out of the country by the end of the year. I don't know how. No, Momo, I decided I was going to take a fashion cue from you. So I don't need to pluck a mustache or nothing else. If you don't want to see my mustache, keep scrolling because I happen to know I don't have a mustache, but do you, boo? Whatever. Ooh, that's just nasty. How long have you had HIV? I don't, I've been celibate for 5 years, so I doubt I got anything. But for you to come in and talk to a stranger like that, I know you got some kind of brain damage if you don't have cellular damage. Be whoever you are, that's nasty. It's very not nice. They came out real wrong and ugly. Hey Larry, hey Clayton, Antoine, I have not gotten to your reading yet, my dear. I was telling them earlier I dropped my phone in water earlier this week. That's why I've been offline for so long because I didn't have the money to run the risk of overheating it and with water in it and corroding the contacts. So I just powered it all the way down and kept it in front of a fan like I was supposed to. Um, I'm trying to think. There are 30 in the room now. If Robin is in, I know some of these people, yeah, they just do whatever. They be all right. Oh, good, Antoine. I'll get to it tomorrow. But when I sit down at the table to do somebody's reading, I pay attention to the decks that came to mind. And for you, it was some very intensive decks that are going to require quite a bit of book reading too. So I just definitely wanted to go ahead and take my time with it. I did get Tabitha. Her reading is out. It's uploading as we speak. I will email it to you this evening if you're here on the live stream, Tabitha. Sage, if you're here, please say hello if you hear me because I have uploaded your reading, but I don't see that you've looked at it. And it's been like 3 or 4 days. So I don't know if you received it or not. Same thing with uh Headlines with a Voice. I'm not sure if you got yours either, Miss Felicia. So please, if you're hearing me, do check your email because I definitely did the reading, and it should be in your email. Um, I'm trying to think. Tabitha, yours is in your email. Aaron, yours is in your email. And other than that, I just have Robin's and Antoine's to get to tonight, unless somebody emails me tonight with another request. I am pretty much caught up except for Miss Robin and Mr. Antoine. Oh, also, I take that back. Oh my goodness, what's her name? Skin by Lauren. If you can hear me, I do not have an email address for you, so I did not do your reading yet because I don't have nowhere to send it and I don't have enough memory on my phone to keep a bunch of readings just held in the loop. So I may go ahead and do it and just list it as an unlisted reading whenever you get around to sending me your email address. I know you keep forgetting, and that's okay, but yeah. Hey Clayton. Oh, I'm glad. Thank you for the sub, brother. Appreciate you. Appreciate you. How has everybody been doing since I done got all my little junk out of the way? Y'all doing good on this Saturday night? I'm glad we're hanging together instead of out in the club spending money and getting all them crazy energies all jacked up in our space. That's for sure. This we gonna have the Saturday night club up in here, the club up in here tonight. I've been trying to get through chapter 2 on the 12th planet too. It's gonna be a different beast trying to bring that to the channel because it's a lot of information in there. But the one thing that I've noticed so far, hey Brittany, how are you? Good to have you in here, my love. Hey Quiko, how are you? Good to have you in here too. Um, but in the 12th planet, one of the things that's really sticking out to me, I know his niece had said that, the first time she read all that information, she couldn't figure out why Zechariah was doing so much like fact finding and so many details and over again. But it really is kind of drilling down. And I get at the time he was looking at trying to confirm this information against biblical information, which it does. That's one of the things that really stuck out in my mind. Now, again, we have to understand what we're looking at when we look at the Bible. But for those people that come into the streams, hey, earthling, why you would feel like I'm a lesbian, I have no idea. And why it even matters, I also have no idea. But I assure you, I am not. I have two daughters that are, though, so I don't have any problem with lesbians. But I assure you, my dear, I am not a lesbian. But thanks for the vote of confidence anyway. Thank you, Kweku. Appreciate you. Um, you say you're doing a deep purge, outer and inner. Yeah, that's what I was saying. I can come up with all the excuses in the world about the 48-hour fasting and the this and the that, but for the level of what I'm asking for, I know I got to go all in and at least do rolling sevens. That's the very furthest I can go. I really got to get it done. You say I look like your mama? Okay, Tyler. That's what's up. I don't mind. We probably have, honestly, we all probably have at least 50 doppelgangers on this planet. You can't do but just so much with two eyes, a nose, and a mouth, you know? It's just that we get to see more of our doppelgangers now because of the internet. But yeah, I can't tell nobody to free Palestine, Nahil, because here's the thing: as long as Palestine, Israel, and all the rest of the world stay tied up in the jacked up politics of the planet, all that free Palestine stuff, the militant outward, that's not the way to get Palestine free. I tell every time I have a live stream, somebody comes in here with, what do I feel about Israel and Palestine? And every time my answer is the same. As a chosen one, you will do far more work to help free Palestine on the energetic plane than you ever will marching around somewhere with a picket sign and a camera stuck up somebody's face. Because neither Israel nor Palestine are completely guilt free or completely guilty in that situation. A lot of that was put into place by some of the Yahweh mess that I talk about every single time I jump on this camera. Thank you, Zach. Appreciate you. Oh, awesome. I'm glad that you found resonance with it. Like I say, it's so crazy. Hold on a sec. Oh, here it is. I'm trying to. I don't know. I think my eyeballs be throwing grease. I clean my glasses and then all of a sudden I can't see again. Like my tears are made of grease or something. I don't know. Um, yeah, and I will, Zach, because honestly, this is the gig, and that's what I was telling somebody before. It's like part of me be tempted to go and try to find a job just so I can have the money, but part of me also knows that this is more and more going to become my full time gig. I just really need to start giving it full time attention, because we are so powerful energetically and have no idea how powerful we genuinely are energetically. And it's not that I don't want to seem uncaring as far as Israel and Palestine or the Ukraine or North Korea or any other hot spots around the planet. But I'm very well aware that there has been no peace on this planet since Yahwistic religions have been in place. And that's part of the reason why. When you worship a monster, it makes monsters out of you. And the world is in the grips of Satan worship. They just aren't aware of it. The information is coming out and becoming more evident now that they keep digging up, doing all these archaeological finds and translating all these ancient texts and stuff. They're starting to connect the dots, but until they fully get them connected, the world is just in the grips. It's being bamboozled. And Valerie, I appreciate you. Every time I get a confirmation of the readings, I absolutely adore it, because when you're reading blind for something, well, I don't say truly blind, but for real, really, like somebody says, hey, my name is Valerie, I want a general reading. And then I sit down with the cards. Like I said, I got over 150 decks. Which decks do I pick? And when I pick the decks, what's the message is supposed to come out of them? And it's only like 78 tarot cards. So when I start pulling tarot, what does that actually mean? And when I go with my intuition and then somebody comes back and tells me this reading resonates so much, then yes, I love, love, love those confirmations, because people don't even understand. I mean, spirit showed me kind of sort of on the energetic field. I can't really put it into words that would probably translate well, but they kind of showed me how the tarot network works, but it awes me every time I see it at work. Hey, bro, 100, how are you? How are you? And hey, Larry Griffiths, welcome, welcome. Hey, Dominic, how are you? Uh-oh, hold on. I gotta get to... Okay. Oh, good. I'm glad to hear it. Welcome to Saturday Night Live. Oh, I better not do that. I don't want to get no licensure issues or whatever. But hey, we are on live, and it is Saturday night, so I'm not nearly as funny as those folks. Although I haven't watched Saturday Night Live in so long, I don't even know if they are funny or anymore or not. What in the world? Okay. Mm-mm-mm. So what we gonna talk about today, y'all? I try to be, Valerie. Honestly, I'm so much of a hermit. I don't have nobody but my spirit team to tap into. I mean, and I'm not saying it in a bad way, because honestly, I've gotten used to not having very many people in my life. Most of the people around me have kind of faded away over the past few years, and then I had some I had to get rid of, and then I thought, you know, I was gonna be all right with the few I had left, but nope, I had to even get rid of some of them too. So you said the planet X system binary star area nemesis. Well, I'm not sure what all you talking about. I mean, Nibiru is going to be coming back around, and that's probably where that next cataclysm is going to come from, because honestly, they didn't specify in the Lost Book of Enki, but they did say that it had something to do with the planetary orbits, that the flood was not something that they caused for our punishment, and they could not prevent it. All they could do was try to preserve us, even though Enlil didn't want that. Enki made it his business to preserve us anyway. But I honestly think it has something to do with Nibiru pulling up every time it gets at a certain point in its orbit in relation to Earth. And it may not even be every single orbit that Nibiru passes. Maybe it's every other orbit, because their orbit is elliptical. So, you know. Zach, I haven't done TikTok yet. I created an account, but I have not uploaded anything to TikTok just yet. But I will hopefully soon. I do kind of gotta figure out potentially a second channel here, so that I can I don't want to completely separate tarot from this message, but I do need to get more of a mainstream tarot facing channel so that I can get paid, because this is what I'm doing from the heart. This is what Enki and Yeshua have led me to do, as far as talking about Sitchin's work and talking about the emerald tablets and all in the scriptures and all of that. But that's not going to keep my lights on and keep me fed. Tarot will keep me fed, so I'm going to have to get a little more active in the more commercial aspect of tarot. Hey, Goddess Lyra, how are you? Honestly, Brittany, yeah. Only reason I don't have my kids are grown now, so, and I wasn't as much of a hermit when I was raising them, but for sure not too long after they all got grown and gone. Like I said, shortly when my youngest one was 18, that's when her father finished kicking the slats out from under me, and I lost everything. And then I went and stayed with a friend for a while. I stayed with my oldest daughter for a while, and it seemed like every time I was trying to get back on my feet, something else would happen, and then I just went all the way into hermit mode. And honestly, I'm grateful for that. I had to give up chasing money in order to get the spiritual benefit. And I believe I'm ready to get back into some money now. But for a while, yeah, I had to do like for real hermit mode all the way down to the, I don't even know how I survived. Honestly, it was a blessing. Like I call the friend that I have now my part of my spiritual extraction team, because we've been friends for a long time, but how that all lined up was just honestly, you can see that there's spiritual intervention in the way that I'm living now, that it don't may not look like much from somebody else on the outside, but I understand that it was arranged a certain way for my spiritual development. Like I said, didn't much money come with it, but it's okay because the money can come later. You say your father is Enki and your grandpa Enlil is evil? Yeah, well, if your father is Enki, then grandpa Enlil will be your uncle, because Enlil and Enki are brothers from the same daddy. Hey, Scott Rayberg, how are you? And hi, Michael, I'm doing well as also. Hey, Lunar Beats, welcome back. Yay, yay, glad to have you. Sorry I stayed gone so long, but my clumsy self dropped my phone in water, so I had to do what I had to do. Jordan, I'm not doing readings here on the live stream tonight. I may go come on and do a little tarot tomorrow earlier in the day. The evenings I keep for the kind of the spiritual conversations. If you want a private reading, you can email me at modernmysticmessages@gmail.com and we can make arrangements for one there. Oh, you from Toledo? Awesome, Scott. Awesome. Hey, Jay to the Enki is the progenitor of the human race, such as we know it in the scriptures. When Genesis chapter 2, when it says, "Let us make man in our image," in Genesis 1 1, when it talks about God making the heavens and the earth, that is the creator of all. But by the time they get to Genesis chapter 2, where it's talking about the Lord and the Lord God, those are the Anunnaki, the powerful ones, the Elohim that are mentioned in the Bible. The word Elohim does not mean God, as we've been told. That's a mistranslation. It actually means powerful ones. And according to the Anunnaki, Akkadian, and Sumerian text, Enlil, Enki, Ninmah, and Thoth were the geneticists that hybridized, if you will, a hominid that they found here, and they basically jumped up the evolutionary timeline for humans. They took us from like Australopithecus up to, or actually, I think it was, yeah, or it might have been at Homo erectus. I think they said that we were at Homo erectus when they found us, but they jumped us up to Homo sapiens sapiens. And instead of it taking like 3 million years like it should have, they did it in like less than 100,000 years. You from Cambodia? Awesome, Goddess Lyra. Wow. You say you need help with a question about spirits. Okay. If you got a general question about spirits, Jordan, you can type it here. If you need me to take a private look, like I say, you can email me. It's up to you. Zach, it depends on how you choosing to look at it, my love. The gods that we talking about here, everything that we've been told is a god here on this earth is not a god. It's not. That's where mankind has been bamboozled. What we were told are gods were Anunnaki astronauts who came here from Nibiru and from other star systems and hybridized the hominid that was here. They mixed their DNA with our DNA to get Homo sapiens sapiens to create intelligent workers here. And then they stuck around and gave us art and literature and agriculture. They civilized us but they are not gods, my love. Humanity has been lied to a lot, a lot, a lot. Yeah, it will in a way, Goddess Lyra. The thing is, people have to get to a point where they can see that, because a dimensional shift is just that. Earth isn't really going anywhere. We're ascending into it through consciousness. Earth Gaia is birthing a new paradigm or a new reality for herself as well. But humanity will enter the fifth dimension through mass consciousness awakening. I have no idea, Lunar Beats, because I never heard of anyone having a hybrid spirit animal. That the whole concept of spirit animals, again, people have a lot of different stories and spiritual beliefs to understand the things around us, but um as far as I know, Niana, first off, hey, I'm not sure about the Omega bloodline and all the rest of that stuff. If we are intelligent enough to have language, use our opposable thumbs, and pick up a book and read and have a conversation, then we have Anunnaki blood in us, period. Because if we didn't, we would still be somewhere climbing trees, dragging our knuckles on the ground. No, honey, that's another lie you've been sold out of the Bible. That Alpha Omega stuff, that is Yahweh blowing hard. He did a whole lot of that. Where was you when I tamed Leviathan? And where were you when I hung the heavens and the earth? And who were you to do all of that stuff, Gary? That's lies that Yahweh told to try to make people think he was more than what he is. Yahweh is not the Alpha and the Omega. Yahweh is an Anunnaki astronaut who came here to Earth. He didn't even do the hybridization of humans. He is the brother of the progenitor of the human race. And all he ever did was sit up and complain and take from humans and rule us with an iron fist and do a whole lot of lying and deceiving, and told people he was all this, that, and the third, but he's not the sky daddy. He really ain't. Hold on, let me see. You said he's helped, he's amazing, and with Inanna, yeah, well, basically, Ninhursag, she later became known as Isis, and then through later iterations, she became known as Inanna. It's kind of a blending, but yeah. He calls the bad ones they created eggnog. I'm not sure what that means either, Goddess Lyra, but okay. Why do people faint when the Holy Spirit touches them? Because a lot of times it don't be Holy Spirit touching them, it's some demons they playing with. They do not understand that Yahweh is Satan the devil, and his minions are unseen beings, what we would call demons. An angel is only a messenger, so an angel of darkness is a demon. Yahweh got demons just like Enki has angels. They're just messengers, people that work for whichever side, whether they work for the light or the dark. They are beings that are unseen to us, but they're still beings. They're other dimensional, other planetary beings. And if you sign up to play that game, they'll play it with you. Have you not noticed that most of the people that have paranormal activity happen to them on this planet are people that profess to be practicing one or other of the Abrahamic religions? Christians seem to have the very most, followed very closely by Muslims with the jinn. If you start buying into that mess, you have very little of that oogly boogly stuff to deal with. Now, of course, it does show up occasionally, because sometimes they will try to attack folks that are of the light, but yeah. Yeah, bro, 100, he surely didn't. So if a spirit can move a physical object, like example, push open a door, is that an evil spirit or just a strong spirit? Honey, whether they're evil or not, that's depends on which faction they serve. That's all. But they're all strong. Just like the Anunnaki, they are strong beings. They may be from other planetary systems, because Anunnaki only means those who to earth from heaven came. So they could be from any star system, any planet. I mean, initially, the Anunnaki who visited initially from Earth were from Nibiru, but even them, they were a very diverse culture. They had been first scattered and then they united on Nibiru, but because they lost their homes in the galactic wars, but they weren't, that wasn't like a one specific nationality. Yeah. That and Goddess Lyra, that's very true too. Most of the time, the ones that are working with the light, they don't do a whole lot of walking up. Now, some people say that Raphael shows himself in human form. Sometimes I've never personally seen him, but sometimes they will move things like redirect your car if you're getting ready to get into a fatal accident, or redirect a lightning strike or something like that. And we've seen stuff like that. People like can't figure out why all of a sudden they were out while getting ready to step into the street, and then all of a sudden somebody passes by and kind of pushes them out of the way, and they miss getting hit by millimeters and things like that. Yes, sometimes our spirit guides will intervene dramatically that way to preserve our life if they need to, but they don't be sitting around just playing, like she said, just playing games just to scare the shit out of us. That's for the demons to do. No. Brittany, Bro 100 is telling you straight up the truth. Meditation is the way to get in touch with your guides. Ask for it. There are also like guided meditations and sleep hypnosis and things that you can do to try to tap into that more fully, but you're going to find it in meditation. Lunar Beats, if a person can levitate naturally, that means that they really got a really, really balanced, high flying energy and vibration, and they would do very well to try to preserve that. And some folks, I mean, we are going to be starting to see more of children coming here on this planet with X-Men type capabilities. There are already plenty of them here. Most of them are they're very smart to hide that. I remember years ago I saw a very some cell phone footage online. I don't even know if the video is still around, but the guy was walking his dog out in the woods. I don't know if it was in the Ukraine or one of the Slavic countries, it sounded like from the language. But he was walking his dog out in the woods and came into a clearing, and a little girl was literally like flying about 20, 30 feet up in the air. And when she was out there with her mother, like in an open field, I guess, so she could, be free and do that. And when they saw him, of course, they got scared. She ran down and they ran. She felt, came down, landed, and they ran off. But we're going to start seeing much more of that. Hey, Ozioma, how are you? Welcome. Thank you, Jordan. You have a wonderful night as well. Yeah, I remember your name, Ozioma. Welcome, welcome again. You say you remember doing it as a child. It randomly happened. Wow. And I did your reading. That's what I'm saying. I don't know why you didn't receive it. You should have received it. I will try to send it again for you. Um, Hold on. Yeah, Amanda, I sent yours. I'm pretty sure I did. It's very hard for me to check right now, but I know if I didn't, it should be in my private readings, and I will send you the link again. Oh, you said you sent a link on an email on the 13th. Okay, I thought I can't check it because I'm using my phone right now, but I think I'd seen them. You said you had 3 random questions asked to and around you, and the answer just came to you. You didn't know the answer, so you're guessing it's your guide. Yeah, that can also. Yep, and you. I think I told you were gonna be a channel too. It came up in the reading, I believe. Yeah. I think initiation by water came out for you, which means that you are being called to be a channel. And channeling, don't let that freak you out, because when I was told that I did long before I was even introduced to tarot, the thought came to me in meditation that I was going to channel. And at the time, it freaked me out a little bit because I thought it was going to look like, when Abraham and Esther, like the way she channels, or when what was her name? The Roberts lady, when she was channeling Seth. I was worried that it was going to look awkward like that, or even Daniel Scranton with all of the light language and the weird stuff. But as it turns out, I'm a spontaneous channel. For years before I even realized I was doing it, I'd be talking to somebody and I'd kind of zone out, and then all of a sudden I'd be like, you know what? I hope you really heard that, because I think that was important. And it wasn't until I started doing the YouTube channel and actually going back and listening to some of the messages and the readings that I was doing that I really, really realized that, yeah, I do. It happens so seamlessly till I don't even really realize I'm doing it sometimes. So all channeling doesn't look like Cryon and Esther and awkward. I think the further down this process we get, the smoother channeling is happening. Yeah, Lunar Beast, Esther, absolutely Esther Hicks. And I used to get so annoyed because I listened to Abraham and Esther for a long time, even back before Jerry transitioned. And I think he transitioned in like 2012 or so. But long before he transitioned, I started listening a couple years before then. But when people started saying they were having Jerry moments, I used to think they just putting on, until I had a Jerry moment at about, I think it was about 2022, 2020, 22, somewhere in there. I had a conversation with Jerry. I bumped into one of their thought forums one day in meditation, and I was so disappointed because I thought that I needed to get in touch with Esther and need to be trained by her and all this other stuff. And then Spirit showed me, nope, you don't have to. You're gonna channel, and you don't have to do it her way. Let me see. Exactly, Brittany. It'll happen how it's meant to. Let me see what Bro 100 talking about. Oh, the Alpha Draconians. But it was, Brittany, was enough to let you know something was happening, and that's all it's meant to. Lunar Beats, I agree with part of what she's saying. You have to realize Esther is teaching a one aspect of the universal laws. She is teaching the law of attraction, because that's what old girl brought to the forefront, back the lady that did The Secret all those years ago. And even The Secret wasn't a complete work. It was just designed to bring people's attention to that, and she teaches law of attraction in a very simplistic way to people that are at a point of their spiritual development. But truthfully, it's kind of people that are at the very beginning of that road. That's all they really trying to learn. I wanted to learn law of attraction, and after a while I listened to her until I pretty much chewed the flavor out of that gum, like she likes to say. And then I wanted to learn how to genuinely manifest, and in doing so, I kind of let go of the expectation and peeled back away from her teachings a little bit and just went into meditation. And it took me someplace completely different. So it's not that I disagree with her teachings, it's just a very elementary, very rudimentary, just the beginning of the story. It's surface spirituality. Because, like I say, but she's only the group of teachers that she's with. Spirit can only translate through the lens of what it's been given. Esther did not have a very spiritual background nor a very religious background. She's an older lady that was just literally a happy go lucky girl. I love her to death, don't get me wrong. But when she's not in trance, when you listen to her talk, she's pretty much kind of an airhead, a sweet airhead, but she could only talk about things that she's familiar with. So her body of teaching is very, very limited. Now, she marketed the hell out of it and made millions of dollars, and I ain't mad at her. Get your groove on, mama. I hope I can find a way to monetize my teachings and get at the bag the way Esther did. I ain't mad at her. But deep spirituality, no, 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 not at all. Hey, Rengard, how are you? I'm not sure. Authentic approach. I don't really remember you, but like, good to have you in here. Good. Oh, from one of the early morning readings. Yeah, I haven't been in doing any early morning readings lately. You said are dragons evil? I don't necessarily think they are. It depends again who they're with. I'm sure everything the light got, the dark got some of too. So some dragons are of light and some are not. So it just depends on where they're coming from. Yeah, Stephen, but what I was saying, I wasn't saying that the secret wasn't right. It just didn't go into enough detail. It was a marketing piece to introduce the world to the law of attraction. But there's way more than just the law of attraction. And then in order to fully work the law of attraction the way people want to work it, they have to become very much in tune with all of the universal laws, not just the law of attraction. You can be just in tune with the law of attraction and you're going to do what most people do. We continue to create the same crap we do not want from our sloppy focus. And that's basically what Esther and Abraham Hicks tell people, is that if you don't tune your energy the right way, you're going to you are constantly manifesting. We all are. We can't help but do it. But most of the time, we're manifesting more of what we do not want because we're still noticing that we don't have it yet. The world tells us don't be delusional. We don't need to have cognitive dissonance. You don't be selfish. All of the things that will keep you tied down. Because for real, in order to create on the level that most people are talking about, you damn well better have some cognitive dissonance going on. You better be just a little bit delusional. You better be selfish enough to be at this, regardless of how many people tell you that it's wrong and selfish and all the rest of that, because that's what it takes to genuinely focus your attention so specifically that you literally cause a reality shift and cause what you want to gel up in front of you. You got to be, the world will call you delusional for doing that. You're steadily focused on the fact that you have something that they don't physically see you have yet, because you know you have it energetically. You just have to hold to that thought long enough for it to become out of the ethers, so to speak, into the physical. And again, I'm not sure about the Alpha Draconians coming before the Anunnaki, because the earliest information that we have says that the Anunnaki came here. Now, it is very possible that some of them may have had some Alpha Draconian roots, because Tiamat was a dragon, according to the legends. And Tiamat exploded long before the Anunnaki came to the earth. And supposedly, by the time we get to the Babylonian epic, Marduk is claiming some blood kinship with Tiamat. Now, whether that's true or whether that was just creative license, we don't know. But at the end of the day, what difference does it make? I try not to get too wrapped off into the different species per se, because it's like people are wanting to say that the Draconians are bad and the Orions are good and the Zeta Reticulations are bad, and honestly, we're still talking about individual beings. So we could have a good Draconian or a wicked Draconian, just like Enlil and Enki was two brothers from the same father, different mothers, two completely different mindsets, energies, intentions toward humanity, everything. So we couldn't say whatever their nationality or planetary origin or species or whatever you want to call it is, we couldn't automatically say that it's bad because one of them acts ass and one of them acts good. Exactly. That's why I said I don't, all dragons are not bad. I refer to Enlil, it just says that Yaldabaoth is a dragon, and obviously he's not a positively focused one. But that don't mean all dragons are bad. You say you took a clear picture of one in the clouds over your house. Awesome, Niana. Hey, Shawanda Sheree. Happy Saturday to you too. Hey, Sugar and Spice. Welcome, welcome. Hey, Levi Israel. Welcome. I don't know, Niana. I've never been able to. I don't think you can. You can. I think if you want to, I think you. I chose the selection where you can actually post to my community page if you want to, but I don't think you can post in the live stream. But I think you can post to the community tab. I believe if you want to check it out after the live stream. I'm doing well, Levi. How are you? It will, Stephen. I'm trying to tell you, the more negative stuff she ain't, your mama didn't tell you nothing wrong in that regard. Hey, DePolly, how are you? Um, Ringard, half of the battle is knowing that you are and making sure that when you have to go amongst other people, literally protect your energy. Set the intention, ask your guides. If you don't have any particular ones that you want to call in or are aware of, it's usually not a bad idea to call in Archangel Michael and Archangel Raphael at a minimum. But ask them to put a wall of protection around you. You might want to keep some protective crystals and stones around you. Yeah, DePolly, go ahead and put your question in, and I'm going to comment just a little bit with Ringard while you're doing that. But if you feel like you're clairsentient or clairaudient, any of the clairs, protect your energy, spiritual baths, meditation, protect crystal energies, protective crystals, a talisman, maybe Hamza or Evil Eye, something like that. But for sure, pay a close attention and be very careful about who you socialize with on an extended um, basis, and be very, very careful about what you allow in through your eyes and your ears. It's not just entertainment. Everything we watch in the media is a level of programming. So, for example, I had, my ex used to be really big on horror movies, and I ain't talking about the old fashioned monster movies. I didn't have a problem with monster movies because usually there was some kind of an outbreak or a virus or something else that caused that. I really didn't have a problem with that, but he was into really dark demonic type, snatch your soul, this and that, the undead and the demons, and it showed in his energy. It really got to a point, even though we was under the same roof, I had to put my foot down, like, bro, I got one more time to wake up and hear some mess like that playing, because he'd go to sleep with the TV on and leave that mess, and it's literally seeping into my dreams. And I told him one day, I'll throw that TV slap through the window, and then you can have a window and a TV to replace. I'm not doing this no more. And honestly, I didn't even think about it. That was the beginning. That was way back in like 98, 99-ish. I stopped watching mainstream television around 1999, but I stopped even allowing a television in my bedroom, period, probably around 2004 or 5. If I want to watch something, I go in the living room and watch it. Or nowadays, if I really, really want to see something, I watch it on my tablet in the room if I'm just wanting to lay down. But I just kept a television out of my bedroom because it really is more important than you realize, especially when you sleep and your brain is still recording. We are the children of Enki, bro. 100. For protection, Stephen, the main ones that I'm familiar with are hematite, black tourmaline, obsidian, which is volcanic glass, onyx. Those are all very protective stones. You can research others, if you feel a need for something else. In your home space, I would recommend you smudging your home with sage or Palo Santo. And when you do that, you can crack the windows to let the energy out. And then once you've done that, Get some sea salt or Himalayan salt, and everywhere two walls form a corner in your house, drop a little bit of salt. It don't have to be enough that people see piles of salt all over your house, but just drop a little bit of salt in those corners. Negative energies like to gather in the corners. They like lines and angles, so you can drop salt there, and they don't like that. And if you're going to travel, astral travel, even Thoth tells you, stay away from angles and lines in astral travel. You want to travel in curves to avoid negative energies. The negative energy at work, dirty socks, same thing. If you got a desk or a space, you might even keep a little palm stone, a piece of hematite, or a piece of black tourmaline in your pocket or something, or set them in your drawer at work, things like that. When you come home, make sure you release the day, meditation, woosah, let it go. Take you a salt bath, a real generic salt bath. I mean, I get it, spiritual baths can get expensive. I'm not saying don't ever buy anybody's formulations, but even just on a regular basis, you can make up, you can get a big, like a bulk thing of salt, a bulk thing of Epsom salt, a bulk thing of baking soda, and just equal parts, so that maybe like a half a cup to a cup of each one of those in your bath water will help clear your energy a little bit. It'll also help relax you a little. You can even you add a little bit of brown sugar to that. A fourth part could be brown sugar and a little bit of cinnamon. Don't do a whole bunch of powdered cinnamon in your tub. It just gunks up the tub. It looks so gross, but a little cinnamon can help as well. You say you never directly tried contacting your guides. You've been believed to call what they call in the void in meditation. Rengar, and honestly, you don't have to. The only reason I'm aware of who some of my guides are, and I don't know who all of them are. I hear people mention guides that are have ancestral names, and some of them are cats and guides and all sorts of stuff. And I think spirit just kind of meets us where we are. When I was aware that I had become clairaudient, and I mean, when I say aware, it got so obvious I could not deny it anymore. It was where I was hearing stuff that I did not know the answer to, and I had to go and look it up. And then when I checked Google and the answer was there, and I'm like, oh, snap, I actually heard that. Okay. And once I understood that I was hearing spirit in a way that I had not heard before, I directly asked if any of the ascended masters were willing to work with me, if they would make themselves known to me. And within, like I said, same day, certainly within 24 hours, I don't remember exactly, but very shortly after that, Yeshua and Saint Germain and Thoth were the first ones to come through to me to let me know that, yeah, we heard your call and here we are. But I have also had conversations in meditation with people that they were giving me good information, and I was so enthralled with what I was hearing in meditation. I didn't even think to ask them who they were, and they didn't tell me, because it's spirit. It don't really matter. It's a body of teachers. It may not even be one individual person at one time. So yeah. Jukum heard. What's going on with your friend Nick? I have no idea, DePolly. That's a personal question. I didn't. You said you wanted to ask a question, but I thought it was something of like a spiritual nature, that you're asking me about some personal private business. I don't know if the SP officer will your husband keep the poly with him. Again, let me ask you this though. I can ask you this. If you had to complain to the SP officer, why do you want Prabhat to keep the poly with him? If you had to complain to the law on this man, why you would still want to be with him? Don't be foolish trying to hold on to something either for the money, or just because you don't have enough confidence in yourself to believe that you can find love again. If the love is so dangerous that you got to call the law on them, you need to get that fool out your experience, don't you think? I'm just saying. if you can't figure it out, Stephen, sometimes if you're starting to wake up, you might want to make sure of what you're hearing too. Because sometimes, like when people, I've heard a lot of folks say when they have sleep paralysis and stuff, they hear beings that are talking, and that's not necessarily always for your good. So just make sure of what you're hearing. If you couldn't hear it clearly, I wouldn't really worry about it. Because if your guys really, really want you to hear something, trust and believe you're gonna hear it. If they have to wake your behind up in the middle of the night, crash the meditation, give it to you coming down the road, have it flashing on a billboard, some kind of way, you're going to hear it in a way, you're going to see it so often in so many ways that you are not going to be able to miss it. Your guides will make sure you get the memo if you're supposed to. I have no idea, Antoine. They could forever showing us stuff and hiding it in plain sight. So they could have been actually showing us what the draconians look like. But honestly, knowing how much the government has been trying to instill fear in us, I would imagine that they gave us a distorted view of what the draconians actually are and what they're actually about. Because that miniseries was designed to instill fear. Period. You know. So I wouldn't assume. They do show us a lot of stuff and hide it in plain sight or call it entertainment, but they always put some kind of a spin on it that's not quite the truth because they've been trying to instill more fear in us than we should. They've been playing with fear mongering about contact since the very beginning. What we call the UN today was first formed in 1910 as the League of Nations, and the whole reason behind them forming the League of Nations was to present a unified front in the event of alien attack. And then they came along with the radio show, The Blob, and then they came along with War of the Worlds and all that kind of stuff. The government been trying to scare the shit out of us about aliens ever since. And how many weather balloons they gonna have? You got hundreds and thousands of people claiming that they've seen people. They've been taken up on craft. They've been abducted. They've had experimentation done. They've seen all of these UFOs or UAPs or whatever they choosing to call them this week. And the government just keeps denying and denying and lying and lying. So I wouldn't assume anything about the actual representation of the draconians based on a television series, other than the fact that they are probably out there. Your guides are Enki and Archangel Michael. Same. I mean, I got several others too, but yeah. Oh yeah, bro. 100. They ain't. People's talking about they're here already. They ain't never left. Even when the Anunnaki went underground, when they stopped ruling directly and stopped appointing chief priest kings directly, they were still here on earth. Some of them were not able to leave because they stayed here too long. Enki, Ninmah, Thoth, all the rest of them. Anu said that their scientists had been testing the ones that were coming back and forth on Nibiru, and the ones that had stayed, the original crew that had never gone back, he told them they could not go back now because their bodies would not survive the trip back to Nibiru. So they're still here. They never went nowhere. Yeah, they are psyops, Southern Madhouse. Hey, Shireen Mercosia. We're talking about some of everything right now, Shireen. If you want to stick around for a little bit, it might get lit. My evening conversations are kind of a little bit of everything. I talk about the Anunnaki and the ancient Babylonian, Akkadian, Sumerian, and Anunnaki texts as next to biblical texts. The power struggle between Enlil and Enki on this planet. Enlil is also known as Yahweh, Jehovah, and how he's bamboozled humanity through the manipulation of religions, primarily the Abrahamic religions, for the last 2,500 years on this planet. That's what we talk about a lot here. Okay, awesome, good. They can. They can transfer their consciousness into other bodies. They absolutely can. Um, if you read carefully, if you actually read for like, go back through the Emerald Tablets of Thoth. That's what they tell you. The dweller is Enki. And it talks about the 30, well, they call them the 2 and 30, but the 32 Anunnaki who continue to stay here. They do not necessarily physically interact in their original forms anymore. They spend most of their time in the stasis state, but even then, they interact with beings, our consciousness on the astral level. And it does say that they do incarnate in human avatars or bodies from time to time while they're still in stasis in their Agwanti, according to the Anunnaki. I mean, according to the Emerald Tablets. Hey, Lashana, how are you? Yeah, you can research the Dead Sea Scrolls. Oh, bro, 100. I have got to hurry up. And again, I should have used more of that time when my phone was drying out. I should have got my butt in here and read more of Sitchin stuff. But I'm about halfway through chapter 2 in the 12th planet. And that was one of the things when they were talking about when they discovered the library at Nineveh, how that did so much to confirm a lot of the, or confirm, but better yet, confirm and place in proper context a lot of the biblical texts. Absolutely. Thank you, Lashane. I appreciate that. Yeah, Shireen, honestly, a lot of the frequencies and stuff, I don't feel like there's anything wrong with it. You can see Pleiadian frequencies, Arcturian frequencies. It is thought that the Arcturians and the Pleiadians are very much in our corner, on our side, so to speak. They're benevolent. I listen to them sometimes too. There is I think it's called Arcturian Sound Healers or something. It's a channel that has a lot of healing frequency music, and then of course the Sound Healers, and then Helen's Pleiadian. I have a playlist on this channel too, where I've put a lot of other content. You know, I keep saying I'm gonna do some of the other videos and stuff. I'll get around to it, but I have several public playlists attached to this channel, and one of them is meditation music, and the other is like frequency and guided meditations that might help you some. Awesome, yeah. And one of the things I suggest to anyone, because I can't put everything on there, but as I bump into cool channels that the music really, really resonates with me, in that playlist, I try to put a few from each of several channels that I come across. So if something you really like, go to their channel, subscribe to it, dig around in their stuff so that you can kind of get more of their music if it really, really resonates with you. Absolutely. Wait a minute. Who got ships on the camera? Wait a minute. Hold up. I missed something back here. Oh, awesome, bro 100. Now, at the time, I wasn't very aware of Enki at all. But I remember back in, I think it was either I want to say 2000, maybe 11, going into 2012. I remember an incident, and I was so sick that night. I was having recurring issues with like my dental issues, some teeth that I should have had pulled a long time ago. But I was getting like recurring sinus infection. So I was kind of out of it. I wasn't on any like crazy medicine or nothing. But I was laying in the bed at night. My daughter had been working at Wendy's. My daughter and son worked there. She came in from the late night shift and she was like, "Mom, you got to come outside and see this." And we went out there, and I looked up in the night sky and I saw a whole fleet of ships. At first, I thought it was stars, but the formation was unlike any constellation I'd ever seen. And when I looked at it, each of the lights was not one singular light like a star. It was two segments. It looked like a lit up ant almost. And they were around a larger body, but the way they were, it had to have been at least 150 ships in formation in the night sky. And we continued to watch that. We started watching it, I think, at about 1 o'clock in the morning. And we continued to watch it all the way up till daybreak. And every few hours, several of them would fall away from they would flank away from the main hub. And by right before sunrise, it was down to maybe about a dozen ships around a larger mothership. But yeah, I did not have the camera equipment to get them on film, but they also had seen craft like hovering right across our house. Like you could see it, and you could see that it was moving the wind in the trees, but it was making no sound whatsoever. And then when it got ready to take off, it just went up and gone in like a second. It wasn't like a regular plane, so it was some kind of craft. 432 frequency is good to listen to as well. Southern Madhouse, absolutely. I know he do, Wilson. Yeshua is one of my main guys. Hey, Jacob Dembele, how are you? Salute. Oh, that's awesome. Yeah, at that time, I was briefly introduced to Commander Ashtar Sheeran, but again, I never really worked fully with him. It honestly, at the time, my daughter has been aboard craft. She will not talk about it to this day. At the time, she was a teenager. This was around that time. She was like 11, 12 years old. She had a couple of incidents where she experienced a time skip, and I just let her. Eventually, it came out in her own way of telling me about it over the course of a few days. And what she described was a very symbiotic, organic ship. It was not like what we see on television, but she was taken aboard craft. They told her that she had a special mission to do, and she didn't want no parts of it. She just decided she wanted to be a regular kid, and then became a problem kid and had a lot of anger and issues. She'll eventually come around. She honestly, you've been singled out like that. It's going to come back around to her, but she will not talk to me about it now. Yeah. Hey, David Adam, how are you? Yeah, I believe you, bro, 100, and I don't blame you. I would not, you don't want to upload that here and have them folks on your doorstep. Just talking about it is bad enough. And that people, they won't anyway. When I was talking about seeing the fleet, the night sky, the ships in the night sky and all of that, people were laughing at me talking about I was smoking drugs and all kind of stuff. It's interesting to me that they will believe the story of Sky Daddy, but they won't believe other things. What made me wear glasses, Finn? The fact that I can't see. They're just reading glasses, but if I take them off, you're gonna notice, you're gonna see me doing this a lot. I want to be able to read the text, and I'm at the point in the age game, or too much computers, too much fine print, whatever you want to call it. I need a magnifying glass to be able to see on my phone. I'm 57 years old, so honestly, if all I need is a reading glass at this age, I'll take it. I ain't mad. Thank you, Dakota. I appreciate you. Steven, some of them are gonna freak out, but that's too bad. So sad. You said you had a time skip once. Oh wow, yeah. Ain't no telling. I mean, she had a time skip. She went down the street, and when she finally came home, she was sitting there looking kind of dazed and confused downstairs. And I helped her up to bed and everything. And the next day, she didn't. When she really finally started talking about it, she didn't remember anything past leaving her friend's house down at the other end of the block until the following morning when she woke up. And I saw her come down the street, helped her in the house, and was trying to talk, but I could tell she was off, but I didn't know what was going on. And then over the next few days, she started telling me about her experience when she was taking aboard craft. Appreciate your subscription and the thumbs up, Dakota. Appreciate you. My evening is going pretty well. I didn't know we were going to be up here talking about alien craft and all of that stuff, but honestly, we could talk about pretty much anything within reason. I mean, stuff that we don't want the men in black on my doorstep, but other than that, we can talk about, because I went, before I got deeply into like spirituality and the Anunnaki thing and the whole sorting out the truth from the lies in the biblical scripture and all of that stuff. I went through my years as a conspiracist also, and I refuse to call them conspiracy theories anymore, because most of the conspiracy theories are actually conspiracy fact. Yeah. I had that happen to me once, Brittany, but actually I think I kind of blacked out because I was pregnant and didn't know it at the time. I went to the restroom at work, and then next thing I know, they were knocking on the door. But I found out shortly after that I was indeed pregnant. So that's what happened with me in that one. I don't want to attribute it to the aliens, because it was the little alien I was growing. And oddly enough, she's the one that I blacked out with. That's the only time I have ever blacked out like that too. And she is the one that was supposedly taken aboard craft, and they said she has something special to do and all the rest of that stuff. Yeah. You said, why is it so baffling to you that everyone is afraid of something different? I don't know why that's baffling to you, Bonnie, because here's the thing. Different people focus on different things. This is literally like the bacchanal or carnival that we're living in. And the powers that be, or powers that were, have made sure that there's some kind of a disruptive, decisive, divisive, deceptive element of some kind of programming, regardless where you focus your intention and attention. So we come here with all kinds of programs that can get us sidetracked, whether it be we get stuck on the religion thing, the psychology thing, the atheism thing, the science thing, chasing money, chasing women, chasing men, entertainment. There's all sorts of things that we can focus on, and the powers that were have put a divisive and deceptive element in all of them. It's the matrix, honey. And unless until you wake up, you won't see it. But fear is just of the unknown. And the reason people are afraid is because we've been programmed to be afraid. They put all of that stuff in there and then tell us all the what ifs if we don't stay in line with what they told us we're going to do. Think about religion. That's one of the biggest fears on the planet. And ain't nobody can't prove none of it. None of it. They even tell you you won't know till you get to the other side. And ain't nobody ever came back and gave us the memo or what happened when we get there. 99,000 people have near death experiences and tell us it's going to be okay. It ain't nothing but love and light on the other side. I went and I saw my relatives. I went and I saw Jesus. I went and I saw, and it was fine. And for every 1,000 people to have a positive near death experience, one fool come back and give you a story about hell. And that's what people want to focus on right there. And they don't even realize that people gonna see pretty much what they expect to see. So if you got somebody that knows they were not a decent person and they were seriously indoctrinated with that hellfire dogma on this part, on this side, if they have a near-death experience, they might experience hell. That don't mean it's real. That just means that's what they expected to see. So that's what they saw. Because they know they weren't living right. But the Bible tells you, like, hell ain't even a real Christian concept. And all of the for real Bible author, like real, like theologians and theosophists will tell you that is not an actual biblical teaching. It is a dogma taught by the church. But it's no real basis in the scriptures for it. The only few little scriptures that they might could link to a thought about hell is doesn't translate to something that's for humans. It's for the dragon, Satan, the devil, and death is going to be put in that place. It didn't say nothing about humans going to hell. that's just one example of how they instill fear in us. But like I said, people are afraid of different things because of the indoctrination that they've accepted. A belief is only a thought you choose to keep thinking. And people tell us all kinds of shit when we're young and in our vulnerable state. We're programmable up until the age of 7. Our brains literally run in theta, which is a pre-hypnotic state. It is our uploading state. We are in being programmed from birth until age 7, and they put all of that stuff in us that usually take us the rest of our lives to unknit from, if we ever do manage to unknit from it. You said you and your girl saw a ship doing CE5, Dr. Greer's app. It really works. You saw lights, and almost all of my children have seen lights at different times. Like I said, not even with me, and they were grown when it happened. Going down the road with somebody else in the car, and a ship just uncloaked and kind of rode along next to them for a minute and then disappeared or recloaked itself. They've seen things like that and didn't really want to talk about it too much. But yeah, people, that's what I'm saying. People have been seeing craft even back in, look at the scriptures. Ezekiel saw the wheel within the wheel and all of that other stuff. And what do you think that was? The Indian in the Hindu and the Vedic text, it tells us about the Vimanas spacecraft. In the Renaissance artwork throughout Europe, you see all kinds of, like, even throughout the churches and stuff, they got all of these artworks with little flying saucers in the background. They have never stopped visiting us. They've been here all the time. It's just because we done got to these folks that know so damn much in our modern day world since the Industrial Revolution, they decided to tell us that it was all make believe and it's all mythology. Nothing to see here. Keep watching the bouncing ball. Nothing to see here. Meanwhile, they're doing all kind of stuff, design, behind our backs and stuff, but keep telling us it's not real, and we keep believing it. Because why? Because we rather believe that it's not real. They've been steadily showing it to you in the media and then turn around and just tell you it's entertainment only. I'm sure you have seen something not of this earth, rocking Johnny. There's plenty of stuff not of this earth on this earth. That's the whole point. Exactly, Stephen. You see what you believe. Yep. We do choose to be here to learn, Bonnie Myers, but most people forget that part, and we continue to believe. Because here's the thing: how old were you when you honestly started realize that your parents were not the smartest and most handsome and most beautiful people on the earth? Like, seriously, most people believe what their initial handlers tell them. That is imprinting. Just like animals imprint on the first thing that they see when they hatch, we tend to believe that our parents know everything and they're the most handsomest and most beautiful people, unless they're abusive or whatnot. And even then, there are children that will cling to abusive parents because that's what they know. So when your parents tell you about the Easter Bunny and Santa Claus and all the rest of that stuff, you believe it until you get old enough, people start clowning you about it. And then they take you down to the church house and they tell you all about Jesus and the cross and the this and the that and the angels and blah, blah, blah. And then they take you to the schoolyard and then they turn around and tell you that they make you study mythology, but they tell you it's all mythology. It's just literature. They don't tell you that that's actual history that happened on this planet. They tell you it's fake, it's fiction. The only thing that's real is this Bible that we gave y'all 500 years ago. This is what you got to go by. This is the only truth that you get to look at. Everything else is a lie. And we still stupid enough to keep doing that. Why? Because our mama and our grandmama told us. I wouldn't call life a simulation, Big Sam the boss. People keep saying it's a simulation. because they want us to have the idea of escaping off of here. That's not exactly what Thoth was getting at. It's not genuinely a simulation. It's just that time is not linear. So past, present, and future are all happening simultaneously throughout infinite possibilities, infinite dimensions, and infinite realities. So in that fact, I guess it could kind of sort of be considered a simulation in that you can tweak it and change it. But we ain't going nowhere. To the only way out off of this planet is through consciousness expanding. It's not a when, and I guess in order to see our way through the simulation theory, then we will still have to have an expansion in consciousness to do so. The way it's a simulation in the fact that Enlil has us trapped in this psyops, in this lie. In that aspect, it's a simulation because we literally, most of the stuff that we believe in that is keeping us stuck here are because we've bought into lies that were initially generated by Enlil to keep our minds stuck so that we cannot ascend. Thoth and Enki and Yeshua are trying to help our consciousness ascend, and Enlil is determined to keep us stuck mentally here. Bro, 100. I'm not from what the way they describe it though. I think the Abzu was just a region because it was pretty big. It sounded like he was in like through the jungle regions of Africa, on through the Gold Coast and going down into South Africa. I don't think it was a craft per se because they did describe in the Lost Book very many like landing ports and posts for their spacecraft. So they had craft flying around here. The House of Life might have been a craft of some sort because it was a laboratory, but they could have built it, so they could pick up the whole thing and take it with them. I don't know. Hey, yeah, how are you? I hadn't seen you in here yet. On the flip side, you end up with people who accept the idea of burning in hell, and that informs a sort of militant nihilism. They believe, thinking, well, I'm ready, going, I'm not. That too. Because you would really think, as much as they preach heaven and hell, you would think people would act better on this planet than what they actually do. Only problem with that, you talking about the flip side, the other flip side to that, yeah, is that one of the reasons they don't act better than they do is because their God don't act no better than that. He thinks that slavery is okay, so the people who follow him think that slavery is okay. He thinks that treating people like shit is okay, so the people that follow him justify it. Like Paul Wallace said, worshiping a monster makes monsters out of us. And people don't realize, and I don't know why they don't realize it, all you got to do is go back in the scriptures and read, whether you Jewish, Muslim, Christian, whatever. Go back and read the Mosaic Law and you'll understand the nature of Yahweh. Disgusting. He got rules for the slave and the slave master right there in the same set of documents. Like, really? It is talking in circles. If you're going to tell me it's wrong to make a slave out of an Israelite, but the Israelites can go and make slaves out of other people, get the fuck out of here with that. Like, really? Because let him tell it, the fact that they worshiped him made them above everybody else. That's the first where you know it went wrong right there. He's saying, you shall not have any other gods before me. That right there tell you that there was other gods here. But then he turns around and tells them there is no other gods. I'm the Alpha and the Omega, the only one. And they dumb behinds went for it. You was just worshiping another god last week. What you mean ain't no other gods? You agreed to serve this fool, but don't sit here and get yourself so twisted that you done convinced yourself that no other gods exist. And yet that's exactly what he did through 2 or 3 generations of spinning that lie. Christians swear up and down Yahweh is the only God. He's the Alpha and the Omega, the creator of this universe. Muslims will tell you it's Allah. And like I say, Christians call him Jehovah. Jews call him Yahweh. Muslims call El Allah, but El ties right back to Enlil too. That's the part they refuse to accept. They are so dead set serious that Allah is different than Yahweh and Jehovah only because of the timelines and what you choose to call him. It's the same energy, same being. And all of them swear up and down they got the only one. The earth was crawling with them cats back in the day. At one point in time, they said it was over 600 Anunnaki on this planet. And then you think about the fact that they started mating with humans and having children. It wouldn't take but a generation or two for that number to blow up exponentially. But yet they want to still claim that there's only one God. Are you serious? Can you really? People don't even understand how stupid they sound when they say stuff like that. But because somebody plunked their little booties on a pew and told them that when they was children, they swear by that to this day and keep spouting it. Oh yeah, like I said, Miss Yates, it is. They would rather believe the BS than seek the truth. But here's the thing, what they stopping to realize, and I get it because they really didn't get like seriously into the archaeological explorations and excavations until about 150 years or so ago, and they really didn't start finding a lot of the ancient texts until about 125. Well, we'll just keep it at 150. But they started finding all of these texts, and they didn't really start finding the translation keys until a little bit later as well. But now that we're 100 years on the other side of them finding all of those ancient texts, we're going to have to let go of some of the lies, because every day they're digging up actual documents carved literally in stone that debunk all of the bull crap that we've been told. But people still don't want to believe it because they want to sit there because the church said that all of that was mythology. Then people just want to dismiss that. That's why I say I take huge exception to continuing to call it mythology. It's not a myth. It's actual historical documents that they're digging up that are telling us that the Anunnaki came here from another planet. They hybridized humanity. They ruled as kings amongst us. And then later on, they passed it off to humans and stuff. But the ones that are main two that was initially here was Enlil and Enki. Enki had love for humanity. He is the progenitor of the human race. Why is that thing? Now, you know what? Y'all need to stop that. I see that thing jump, and that I did not do. But anyway, they see all of that stuff that happened, but it was literally the sovereignty issue between two brothers, Enlil and Enki. Enki was not perfect, but he did have love and regard for humanity and try to do the right thing. Enlil has always hated humanity and always done the wrong thing. And humanity got it twisted and literally ramped down their focus. They niched down and chose Yahweh worship or Enlil worship about 2,500 years ago and been going to hell in a handbasket ever since. Oh yeah, Stephen. Hieroglyphs show us extra planetary stuff. Hey Caleb, I'm doing well, I'm doing good. Hey Bonnie. Ooh, Bonnie, you had a very special upbringing then. So you're already more aware of this than most people. That's wonderful. I'm doing well, Caleb. How are you? Hey, 45 on my game. How are you? Bro, 100, you're absolutely correct. All he did was sit around and make demands, lie to people, deceive, cheat people, try to all of that and fight. He's been fighting ever since he got here. I'm feeling really good, Caleb. Elijah, you said Yeshua is different. Yeshua ain't as different as people think. Yeshua is different from Yahweh because Yeshua was not pointing people towards Yahweh. If you really go back and read that information and look at it with a more enlightened from an enlightened point of view, you can clearly see that Yeshua was pointing people towards Lord Enki, not Yahweh. Everything that Yeshua did and said was more along the line of Enki's teachings. He said that his father was not the same father that the Jews claimed, that his father was loving, that his father had sent him to set the record straight and to try to teach him something different. And that's what Enki said he was going to do. That's what Thoth asked for permission to do when he, in the Emerald Tablets, when Thoth was granted immortality, he said rather than just roam the cosmos, he wanted to continue to come back to mankind to be a light be the light of the world. Thoth said that. Thoth was known as the Logos and the Word. Yeshua was known as the Logos and the Word. Thoth was known as the Son of Man and the light of the world. Yeshua was known as the Son of Man and the light of the world. In my humble opinion, I believe that Yeshua was the second incarnation of Thoth, Enki's son. Because John 3:16 does tell us that he loved mankind, he loved man so much that he gave his only begotten son, so that whoever believed like him, not on him, like him, should not perish but attain eternal life. Just like Thoth obtained eternal life through spiritual ascension. If you read it, like I say, you just got to know what you're looking at. Those are Anunnaki documents that they put together to create the Christianity lie, but they took it from, those texts were all taken from texts that were much, much, much older than the Bible times that they led us to believe they're talking about. Elijah, again, you buying back into the story, honey. That died and rose thing is a Christian lie that they told in order to justify killing him. But truthfully, when they killed him, they were trying to curse him. They wasn't doing it for ours. So we didn't need nobody to die and rise for us. That's the lie that we was told. The sage, you can go with that. Hey, Lashana Braxton. Exactly, bro. 100. These people talking about he died for our sins. They still spewing that Christian lie. They attempted to kill him, and he knew. Honestly, if you read or listen to Christ Returns Speaks His Truth and Anna, Grandmother of Jesus, it'll tell you exactly that. He was a high yogi. He knew how to go into that samadhi state, and it was a for real passion play that he was putting on. People don't even, they miss the fact in the scriptures after he was supposedly dead that they went into the cave. The women that went into the cave to tend to his body did not take embalming herbs in there. They took healing herbs. People don't, they completely miss that in the scriptures. He didn't die. No, Buddha is not the same as Yahweh and Lil Thomas, and neither is our Archangel Michael. I've studied, I don't know, I haven't formally studied it on the university level, Zarlathion, but I have talked to several seminary trained priests and preachers that have been to seminary, so I do understand what I'm talking about, and I have looked at other religions, and I don't go into super depth into them, because once I realized that they was all basically worshiping the same one, then the one that I did go really into depth with was enough for me. I don't have to just waste my time continuing to stir in a pot of shit to know it's a pot of shit. Elijah, yes, but you also have to realize the Anunnaki, the Nephilim, you talking about the fallen watchers, they didn't fall, they came down there voluntarily at the wedding of Marduk and Sarpanit. But you can't, if you recognize that the Anunnaki are the Nephilim and the Watchers, they are lowercase gods, then you have to understand that Yahweh, Jehovah, Allah, they're also lowercase gods. They are not the all-powerful Alpha, Omega, invisible sky daddy that religion lies and teaches us that they are. They're no different than what you call the Watchers or the Fallen Ones or the Anunnaki or the Nephilim. They are beings from another planet who came here and lied and paraded around and told people that they are gods with a big G, but they are not, including the big one that got the book and the religions and go around killing people to make people believe in it and all the rest of that. The Muslims, the Jews, and the Christians is all bowing and scraping and praying for a sky daddy that does not exist and don't give a shit about none of them. They out there killing each other, themselves, and everybody else, defending the right to worship that liar, the interloper, whichever one you want to understand him to be, whether you want to be separate as a Muslim or not, they still all Anunnaki lowercase gods who literally eat and breathe and poop like us, got on a ship and came here and lied and said that they were gods. They are not. They are space beings, like Antoine said. Well, he said a space where beings can hear the Dharma and swiftly attain liberation, but they are space beings. And again, Caleb, that Genesis chapter, John 3:16 that you're quoting there is a mistranslation. It should be that whosoever believe like him, not just believing in him. He came and taught a very specific message. And the scripture accurately translated says that God loved the world, or the Elohim, the powerful one, loved the world so much that he gave his son so that whoever believes like him shall have eternal life. That still does not support this lie that Christianity came up with. It's saying he came here to teach us something different than what the Jews were doing. And he told them that they were not worshiping his father. In John chapter 8, he tells them that they worship their father, the devil, that is not the same father that sent him. And instead of them listening to him, they unalived him for it. So they completely missed the point. And 2,000 years later, people still missing the point and still choosing to worship that same lying God that saw to it that he was unalive, and still misleading humanity, and still got these people fighting at each other and enslaving each other, and on and on and on, just like Yeshua said they would. Dharma is good karma, bro. 100. They are the Greek gods. They're the Greek gods, the Roman gods, the Celtic gods, the Nordic gods, all of them, the Vedic, the Hindu gods, they spread all around the world. Thoth ruled in Egypt for 36,000 years, and when he left the children of Khem, which is what he called the land of Khem, was Egypt, Khem, or Khm without the vowels. When he left Kemet, he went over into the Mayan and Incan lands and ruled over there for several thousand years as Quetzalcoatl and Kukulkan. They traveled all over this planet. Everywhere that humanity spread, the Anunnaki went with them to cultivate, continue to teach them. Even when we go into like the Samoan lands and the Hawaiian lands and stuff, they talk about the seven sisters and how they came and buried their spaceships and stayed here. They gave birth. They mated with the children, with men, or the beings that were here, and they had children, and they buried their spaceships and stayed and taught the children. They teach that over in the Polynesian lands. Everywhere on this planet has a sky people story. So everywhere that humans went to, they took their little g gods with them. They were just Anunnaki beings who traveled with them, who helped civilize them and bring them agriculture and science and medicine and astronomy and astrology. And ultimately, they wound up, human beings deify everything we either deify or kill everything we don't understand. And part of the reason we deify things is because we had a worship gene placed in us to give us the propensity to worship. So anything that's too big for our little minds to conceive of, we have a tendency to deify it and or kill it. Period. And we're still doing that. Exactly, Elijah. They do. The Bible does speak of lowercase gods, except they turned around. Then the Yahweh story turned around and said that the rest of them is lowercase gods. He's the only real God, and everybody need to go and worship him. And people were so stupid, they went for it. I'm sorry to call our forefathers stupid, but that was really kind of dumb when you had all of these other gods right there in your face, and you let this one that only appears behind the smoke and the wall and the cloud and everything else, the meanest, most hateful, most bloodthirsty, most violent one of them all, turn around and tell you I'm the only one, and the rest of them don't exist, and you decide to believe it because he said it. That's kind of silly. But that's exactly what happened. And then, like you said, later on, history decided to bury everything else. All of the stories that are coming out, the church and the government tells us that that's mythology, that this Yahweh mess is the real deal and everything else is a myth. But they've been here so long, they are the same people basically that show up in all the pantheons. Yahweh was Odin in the Nordic pantheon. He's Zeus in the Greek pantheon. He's I'm trying to think. He was in several one. I think he also showed up as Bacchus and Dionysus and Yao, Beelzebub. Um, yeah, he been a whole bunch of different ones. Enki showed up in a bunch of different pantheons. Isis then showed up in a bunch of different pantheons. Thoth then showed up in a bunch of different pantheons. And there were others too. Marduk showed up under different names and stuff. Uh, yeah, over and over, wherever they went, they were known by different names throughout different times. But they still been here. Hi, Hanye, how are you? Hi, Nine Ether Being. Yeah, we are talking about somewhat esoteric knowledge to a degree. Yeah. Thank you, honey. Cinnamon Stick, where is Enki now? According to the Emerald Tablets, he's in his Iguanti. That wherever they decided to go, whether it's behind the ice wall, in the no, we don't know exactly where the halls of Amenti are, whether it's beneath the pyramids or in an etheric space or whatnot. But they're still here somewhere on the earth. They just do not come out and interact with us. But they are basically in a stasis state at this point. What about Buddhism? Buddhism is more of an Enki-ite type philosophy. It's not truly a religion. And honestly, think about it. We see what the world is under the Enlilite religions, Christianity, Judaism, and Islam. How much war and famine and starvation and on and on. It's been the same thing, basically, rocking out of 2,500 years of misery and strife. Think about what the world would be if 75% of the planet was Buddhist instead of Christian, Jewish, or Muslim. Would it not be a more peaceful place to live? Overnight, war, starvation, slavery, trafficking, almost all of that stuff will be ground to a halt overnight. You can't pay a Buddhist to pick up a pew pew and go shoot nobody. It's not going to happen. They're not going to do it for themselves, for the neighbor down the road, for the government. Nobody. It's not going to happen. Nicole, grow up. That's just disgusting. No, I will not pray for your Uncle Mo. Grow up. Hey, Broken Beautiful, how are you? Lovely. Great to see you in here, my love. Hey, Butterfly, I'm doing well. Hope you're doing well also. Hey, Set Free, how are you? Oh, glad to have you joining here from Zim. Awesome. Cinnamon Stick, I think very highly of Buddhism. Now, personally, when I turned off my worship gene, like I said, I was so done with religion, period. I don't have a need for the ceremony and ritual of formal Buddhism, but I agree with a lot of the tenets. I just haven't bothered to like formally join into because I take what I can where I can from everywhere. But I have no issue whatsoever with Buddhism. Bonnie Myers, the reason humans have to have something to blame instead of looking inside themselves and learning themselves is because of the programming that we have here that tells us that we ain't shit and everything that happens is we basically grow up and spend our whole lives reacting to outside influences. That's why we've been disempowered by the powers that were. Don't talk to Sage that way. Who's you talking to? I don't know what you talking about because I ain't even said nothing to Sage in a hot minute. If that Sage Edith was in here, I'm hoping because she ain't got her reading yet. I gave it to her. I did it, but she hadn't picked it up. But anyway. No, he did not, Elijah. He ain't spent no third of his ministry casting unclean spirits into nowhere. His ministry only lasted 3 years anyway, but he spent the time sitting there trying to teach the Jews. He wasn't talking to no unclean spirits. He was talking to the Jews and told them they was worshiping the devil. And they just chose not to hear him or believe him. Hey, Miss Versatile, how are you? Exactly, Stephen. That's what people don't even understand. Right now, if we were to go back 3,000 years in history with our little Apple Watches and our phones and our tablets and whatever else, with our cars and our GPSs and cruise control and everything else, and pop up somewhere, somebody might think that we was gods too. Especially if we landed in like an ultralight airplane or something like that. Yeah, they would think that we was gods, and if we were crazy enough to tell them that, then yeah. No, cinnamon stick, I didn't say that. Even the Anunnaki, if you read the ancient texts, they understood that they called him that being the creator of all, the one that's mentioned in Genesis chapter 1:1. In the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth. The big G, that's the only time big G God shows up anywhere in the Bible when they describe that he put the heavens and the earth here. But that's not to say there is no God. I'm saying that the ones that's coming around here parading themselves here as God, the ones that wrote that whole Bible book story and used it to manipulate humanity, they're not gods. I didn't say there was not a creator of the earth because the Anunnaki clearly acknowledged they did not put the earth here. They did not put the initial life that was here. What they did was come here and they were trying to mine gold and they wasn't getting it out here fast enough. And their workers from Nibiru started mutinying because they had been here for about 40,000 years trying to mine that gold to save their home planet. And they demanded that workers be created to help them mine the gold. So Lord Enki had, in his travels around the Abzu, had seen a hominid, and he decided to infuse that hominid or hybridize the hominid by basically mixing that hominid's egg with their DNA and created Homo sapiens sapiens. He took us from primitive being hominid to the human point. Instead of waiting millions and millions of years for evolution to do its thing, they fast tracked evolution by about 3 or 4 million years genetically in the laboratory. And that's how Homo sapiens sapiens came to be on this planet, because of them. But the initial hominid that we came from was not created by them. That was created by the creator of all. They did. Yep, Stephen, they capped our telomeres so that we won't live but just so long. Joshua, I'm not a medium in the sense that I'm a clairaudient channel, if you will, but I have not opened myself up to receiving energy from all just random dead people everywhere. No, I talk to my guides, and my guides talk to me. Occasionally, my ancestors and loved ones show up, or not, not physically. I don't see anybody. I'm clairaudient and clairsentient, but I chose not to open myself to that level of mediumship. I don't have any desire to just have random dead people showing up and wanting to talk to me all kinds of times a day or night. That's not my walk. And bless the people that do. That's on them. That's not me. No. Thoth was Quetzalcoatl and Kukulkan in different places, different names, but the same being, Antoine. Hell no, Joshua. I do not believe in Yahweh. I believe in him in that I know who he is and what he is, but I refuse to continue to accept the lie that Christianity says he is and that Judaism says he is. I accept the truth of who and what Yahweh is. I spent most of my life in 2 baptisms worshiping that demon till I found out what he really is, and then I renounced that. He does not have humanity's best interest at heart, so I don't mess with him. Everywhere around the planet got stories of the Anu, Stephen, because they was everywhere. Yeah, Yahweh was Enlil, and he was a mean, nasty somebody who never had humanity's best interest at heart whatsoever. He has only ever done things from his own selfishness, lied, deceived, tricked, and some old stuff. Manipulate. And there's just no need for me whatsoever to deal with him, period, at all, at all. Hey, Daisy Duke, welcome. Prometheus, yeah, he was also Poseidon, Olokun in the Yoruba pantheon. He's Lord Shiva in the Hindu, Bro 100. You okay, Caleb? You can keep claiming him if you want to. Continuing to bow to the dragon, gonna have you in the same plight that the dragon gets at the end of the road. That's the reason I continue to speak. So if people that want to keep declaring that Yahweh is God, Allah is God, they want to come in here like they doing something so big by coming up in this live stream and doubling down on their worship of Yahweh. You can do whatever you want to, honey. And at the end of the road, when Yahweh is destroyed, just like it say in Revelation he's going to be, it says that those who continue to follow after the dragon or after the devil, the one named Satan, read chapter 20 about what happened to him. And then I think it was around chapter 16 or 17 somewhere. It says those that follow him are going to get the same thing that he get. So you can keep declaring him your all in all you want to. You're going to wind up with the same kind of outcome that he has. I teach the things that I teach and talk about the things that I talk about to try to save some of the more open-minded, good-hearted people that want to learn something different, to wake them up from the deception so they don't have to have that same fate happen to them at the end. Because the end of Revelation, we've been told that like it's this huge spiritual warfare, like this is a big showdown with God and man. It's not God and man. It's Anunnaki beings against each other. It's literally like the final skirmish in the Anunnaki wars. However, those humans that choose to align with the one that's going to be taken out of here, they can go with him if they just cannot accept the truth and will not live peaceably under the peaceful Anunnaki. They can go with him. They sure can. Salam alaikum to you, Mehmet. Hey, Bayrav, welcome. Oh, good, Yahweh, my way. I'm glad you caught us too, Daisy Duke. Yep. And honestly, bro, 100, the whole idea of it does sound boring. I'm like, why in the world you done had to go through so much suffering on this planet? And then when you leave off of here, what do you get? You get to go to a place where you get to walk around on streets of gold and eat milk and honey all the time. Yeah, that'll get real boring real fast. Real fast. Every concept that we're given of heaven, I've always wondered why. It basically, they tell us that we're supposed to be creative and hardworking, and then everywhere we get to this heaven thing and get to be lazy. The Mormons talk about men getting a whole planet full of virgins that they can plow through. Like, so what about the women? Where's the satisfaction in that for them? They're gonna have to wait for years and years and years to have one opportunity to be with their one man that's on this one planet while he busy sleeping his way literally through the phone book. And that's their concept of heaven. That's a little twisted, don't you think? Muslims claim that you get 40 virgins. I wouldn't even want 5 of them for real. One woman is enough, plenty to deal with. Why any man would want 40 virgins is beyond me. I'm not sure what you talking about, DJ Real, but whatever you say, let your soul glow shiny smooth. I guess it is, because I'm not wearing foundation or anything else. So I guess that is my soul glowing. If you don't like it, I don't know what to tell you. Yes, I do draw on my eyebrows. Lots of women do when they don't have none left, no real ones left. Mine are very, very sparse. So when you think of the goodness of Yeshua, okay, Caleb. That's exactly what I said by His Grace, Marie. I'm ignoring what Caleb said because he wanted to do his little proselytizing stuff he heard in Sunday school. Yeshua did not die for us. Yeshua died because they wanted him dead. That's why he died, because they killed him for telling the truth. But he did not, the propitiatory sacrifice and all that other stuff, that's lies that Paul wrote into the scriptures in the New Testament later on after the fact. Yeshua said that after he left this earth, that there would come one that would come along and put forth a great deception out there that would lead humanity lost for a very long time. And about 100 years after he left this planet, along come Paul with that lie he had about his conversion and how he met up with him on the road to Damascus and all the rest of that. Paul had been a bitter persecutor of the Jews up until that point. And then all of a sudden he had this so-called conversion that nobody could prove but him, that he claimed that that Yeshua appointed him as an apostle. 100 years after the fact, really? Really? Okay. Marcus Aurelius, what about it, my dear? By his grace, Marie, no ma'am. No ma'am. That is not true. That is a lie that Yahweh told. If there was only one God, the father of Jacob, Abraham, and David, then why did he have to tell them that? He said, you shall not have any other gods before me. If there was no other gods, he wouldn't have never had to say that. Think sometime. Don't just accept the lie because they tell you that in church. The Jews were not worshiping Yahweh when they were in Egypt. They were worshiping Moloch. That's why they made that golden calf. It was going back to his nephew Marduk. Historically, even Abraham was not worshiping Yahweh. When Abraham left out of Ur, he had been in the temple of Nanar Sin. His father was a temple scribe in the temple of Nanar Sin, the moon god, which was a merge and a mixed mashup of Nanar or Ninurta, which was another one of his nephews or Yahweh's nephews or whatever, and Sin was the moon. But Inanna was still being worshipped. Enki was still being worshipped. Thoth was still being worshipped. All of the Anunnaki cats that came here together were still being worshipped. Yahweh said he was a vengeful, jealous God. So he started lying and saying he was the only one. And Abraham, in his ignorance, went for the okie doke and agreed to serve him. And even at that, Yahweh did not keep his promises to even Abraham, because he promised to give Abraham the land of Canaan. But 500 years later, the Israelites still didn't have the land of Canaan. So he promised it to the Egyptians. And what did he do? Led them around 40 years lost in the desert for a trip that shouldn't have took them no more than 11 weeks to get there. And he still hadn't cleared out the land of Canaan for them. When they got there, it was overrun with Nephilim. He'd been promising them that land forever. And 2,000 years later, they still fighting for a land that he supposedly gave. He keep promising it to them over and over and never gave it to them. He's a liar. He is the father of Jacob and Abraham, but that don't mean that he's the right father. It doesn't mean he's a good father. It damn sure don't mean he's the only one just because he said so. People need to wake up and stop buying into ignorance. If he was the right benevolent one, if Yahweh Jehovah was the only God, why do we still have suffering 2,500 years later after him taking power on this earth? That's a piss poor excuse for a God that can't find peace on this planet after 2,500 years of uninterrupted rule. You need to find another God if that's the case. Yeah, he was a military tactician, so he's very good at manipulation. He don't have no issue with lying. He don't have no issue with doing black magic. He sent Moses in there with them plagues and stuff, turning water to blood, killing all the firstborn, putting plague. He put plagues on 2 different pharaohs so that he could bully up on people. He don't. That's Yahweh's style all day. But if he's the only God, the true creator of heaven and earth, how unjust would that be? The pharaohs were supposedly placed in power by God. And then God gonna turn around for want of one man, gonna bring plagues to the pharaoh based on that one man lying to the pharaoh. Read about it. When Yahweh first got up with Abraham, Abraham lied and told the Pharaoh that Sarah was his sister because she was so much younger and so beautiful that he was afraid that they was going to kill him. So he told Sarah to tell the Pharaoh that she was his sister, and she did it. And the Pharaoh wanted to marry her, and rather than set the record straight that she was already married, Yahweh brought plagues to the Pharaoh. What the hell kind of God is that? Your servant lied to this king, and instead of you setting the record straight, you bring plagues to this man to punish him because of your servant's lie. Same thing with the Egyptians. They didn't lie, but they were in captivity in Egypt. Not the Egyptians, the Israelites. They were in captivity in Egypt. They had been a nomadic people. They were taken into captivity, and they were worshiping a whole different God. But Yahweh was coming out of exile, and he no longer had a land or a people, so he had to go find him some people. So he kept promising them this piece of land that he never gave Abraham. They went for it once, so he whipped that lie out again and told Moses, literally made Moses put his life on the line. Moses had left Egypt on the run, afraid, in fear of his life, because Moses had killed one of the Pharaoh's guards That's why he left Egypt. And Yahweh found him out there in the desert and said, I want you to go back into Egypt and tell the Pharaoh, I said, let my people go. Moses was scared, and rightly so. He left on the run because he was wanted for killing one of Pharaoh's guards. Yahweh didn't even care. He told him to go back in there and tell him I said. And I'm going to give you some sorcery tricks to do so that you can let him know you got a little flashbang, a little razzle dazzle with you, but you tell him what I said instead of him going in there himself. You such a mighty God. Why didn't you go tell the Pharaoh what you wanted? Because that ain't how Yahweh get down. People need to read that book and see what the hell they actually reading in there. Hey, Weston Campbell. Hey, Shireen Marcosia again. Yep. Well, then, by His grace, Marie, this probably ain't the channel for you. Then, if you want to still keep arguing for your limitations and arguing for your right to worship a liar and a dragon and a demon that Yeshua himself said was Satan the devil, you go right ahead and continue worshiping Satan the devil, my love. It's probably not your channel because we don't endorse that here. We've done enough of that. We're wakening our eyes up. We're waking up to the truth here. We're not going to continue accepting the lie just because our mama and our grandmama told us that lie. Because mama and grandmama genuinely didn't know no better. A lot of the stuff that's actually bringing this out to light was literally just unearthed about 100, 150 years ago. But now that we know better, we're going to do better over here. We don't continue accepting the lie just because many other generations were lied and bamboozled too and went for it. Yeah, so if that's what you want to do, that's fine, but you're not going to proselytize here against that. Oh, yeah. Look, I'm a woman and I love women in general in the abstract sense, but I know we a pain in the neck. Ain't no man in his right mind would want more than 5 women. If he do, he just greedy. He's a juvenile that ain't never had a good one. Because honestly, the older you get, that idea of having that many women to roam through, that's only a juvenile thought between sexually repressed men. A man who is fulfilled in his sexuality knows that one is all he really needs. You said 4 Chinese women in their 30s to 40s would shape you up. Look, Weston, and I'm gonna call you out on that, bro. Because again, I know who I'm talking to, and I know who I am, and all the rest of that. Men peak sexually around age 25 or 30. Women peak in their mid 40s. You couldn't handle 4 women in their 40s. I don't care who you are, how much stamina you think you got. You ain't no way you gonna satisfy no 4 women in their 40s. It will never happen, bro. You ain't all that. Sorry. I don't care how great you may think it is, or whoever done lied to you or told you that. No, no. Oh, okay, good. I'm glad you said you believe it's a joke, cause I'm like, these men be biting off all that they get true. They think they gonna do something with that many women. They ain't gonna do a damn thing, but go somewhere and be tired. Have a bunch of nagging women on their butt because they not satisfying none of them. Um, You said, can I predict the one world leader and when will he kick ass? No, I really can't, Thomas. I believe the one world leader, when he emerges, will be Lord Enki. I don't know when that's going to happen, but that's when the planet will be unified when Lord Enki comes back. That's what Revelation says at the end of Revelation. Go read chapter 21. After Satan the devil, it says that Satan was bound for 1,000 years and he'd be let out for a time to do his worst. And then he would be at the final end of the skirmish. He's going to be taken down and he'll be chained in the abyss in the lake of fire. And then chapter 21 describes another Elohim descending from the sky with New Jerusalem, shining like a jewel. It describes another Elohim coming down with a base camp, like a gigantic ship landing right here on earth. And it says that he's going to do basically everything that this other Elohim done had 2,500 years to do and didn't do, or however long it be between the time whenever Enki makes that happen. Because the two major Elohim that were here that had an issue of sovereignty from the very beginning was Enlil and Enki. The rest of them were here as their uncles and cousins and aunties and mates and everything else. But when they first came here, Alalu made his way to the planet, and he was supposed to have rule of Earth, and they did him dirty. He did not get rule of Earth like they had promised it to him. And him and Anu fought for rule again, and Alalu lost. Anu went back to Nibiru, and Enlil and Enki are the only two that ever had even had the opportunity or the offer of rule of Earth put before them. And Enki was supposed to get it because he was not in the succession for the throne on Nibiru. But Enlil took it anyway. So Enlil did his own brother Enki dirty. Enki is the older brother, but he could not inherit the throne on Nibiru because his mother was a concubine. She was not of the royal bloodline. Enlil was the younger brother, but his mother was also of the royal bloodline. So he was next in line for the throne on Nibiru. But he stayed here minding Enki's business for so long, he couldn't even return to Earth if he return to Nibiru because he stayed here too long. So he wanted power, complete sovereignty over Earth. And he's run Earth into the ground. And according to the end of Revelation, when they finish deposing his behind, the other Elohim that's descending almost has to be Enki. At that point, if Enlil is being deposed, if he is Satan, and his title was Satan of the Eden when he first got here, and now in Revelation, they're saying Satan, the devil, is going to be deposed. The other one by default would be Enki. And it says he's descending with New Jerusalem, shining like a jewel. Now, when is that going to happen? I have no idea. I hope it happened in my lifetime. I genuinely do. But I can say I do believe it will happen. I don't know where we are exactly in the timeline because they've been jerking with the timelines to keep us confused. They snapped even in the Common Era in the years AD, Anno Domini, I believe somewhere either right before CE or right after. I think it was somewhere in AD. They pulled 300 years out of our timeline just because. So it's hard to say exactly when it's going to happen. But the Anunnaki texts indicate that before 2 shars had passed after the flood, that there would be another cataclysm coming to Earth and that humanity would be preserved through it. But they can't prevent it, just like they couldn't prevent the flood, but they know it's going to happen, and they will preserve a contingency of humanity off the earth. And I believe at that point, whatever's going down with Enlil will be over and done with. If he doesn't meet his end before then, I believe he will meet his end at that point. Remember when they showed us the movie Knowing in 2009, and they talked about basically the earth being destroyed in a firebomb, basically like a nuclear event that was going to scorch the face of the earth, and an alien contingency said that they knew it was going to happen. They knew when it was going to happen. They could not prevent it, but they were going to save a contingency of humanity. And that's exactly what happened in that movie. They took up a whole bunch of children, a few adults that look over the kids and teach them and all the rest of that. They took soil samples and plant samples and animal samples and all of that stuff. And they put them up into these UFOs and took them up off of the earth so that when that flash happened, that those people were preserved, and then after all of the fallout was over and done with, they were going to bring those people back to earth to form new earth. That sounds like the end of Revelation. If you look at it, it was a combination of what the Anunnaki said would happen within 2 showers after the flood, and the end of Revelation mashed up into one Hollywood cinematic story. But there's a reason why Hollywood be giving us that stuff, because literally the lost book of Enki said that a shar is 3,600 years. We at least 4,000 years on the other side of the flood right now. So before the end of the next shar, before 7,200 years after the flood would have happened, and who knows where we are exactly, but about we're somewhere in the 6,000 year range, I think. They said that another cataclysm would be coming. Now, whether it's going to actually be this lining up with Nibiru, could be. Who's to say? They know, we don't, but nobody wants to believe that. They still want to keep buying into the church nonsense. So let them, because those who actually are looking at this information and beginning to read it and understand it and all the rest of that, know something different's gonna shake some things up. Thank you, Weston. Niana, it's funny that you say that about letting my people go. I gotta scroll faster. But that was one of the things that I started hearing clairaudiently back in 2020. And at first I thought it was Yahweh saying, let my people go, like he said to Pharaoh. Let my people go is now Enki's word, Enki feeding Enlil his own words back to him. Enki is demanding that Enlil let Enki's people go. The truth, Nadja Crawley, is we've been lied to. That's the absolute truth. Humanity has been hoodwinked and bamboozled. Everything we've been given is a black mirror. It's an absolute psyop and almost a complete flip. What is bad has been made to appear good, and what is good has been made to appear bad. Hey, Ivan Curry, or Yvonne, I'm sorry, whichever. Okay, Weston, I get you. All right, Miss Yates, thank you for joining. I will resend the link again because, like I said, I could have sworn I had sent it, but I will send it again. Make sure you check your email when I get off of this live stream. I'm gonna go and send yours. I'm gonna send Sage hers too because I have no idea why neither one of y'all got those yet. I am reading the Bible, James Weaver, but you got to read the Bible with understanding. If you read the Bible the way they teach us to read the Bible in church, you're going to stay stuck for a long time. Like humanity been stuck for 2,000 years. Once you know what the Bible is and actually read it with understanding, it read like a whole different thing. Trust and believe. I done read the Bible numerous times. Many times. I was taught to read from the Bible by the age of 3 with the help of a belt. I've been reading the Bible for 54 years, my love. Well, the thing is, Weston, the Abrahamic religions did mash up with the Egyptian religions because the Jews was up there with them. It tells you that in the Bible. People just, they don't understand. The preachers will pick apart parts of these stories for the sake of creating a sermon, but you got to read the whole thing for context, like you actually reading a book, because that's what it is. It's a book. It's not people want, oh, it's the inspired word of God for teaching, reproving, and setting things straight. It's a book. It's a historical document that's made of a bunch of other historical documents that were very much truncated, redacted, abbreviated, and in some cases intentionally mistranslated to push together a story to create a certain narrative the way Constantine, the sun worshiper, wanted that narrative presented when he was creating a unified religion so that he wouldn't have all these 11 different religions under his rule. He wanted a central religion, and that's what he did. He called the first Council of Nicaea to put together a religion that everybody, it had enough of a little something, something for everybody in it, because it was taking beliefs from all over the known religions of the time and mashing them up into this one thing they call Christianity. Oh, they done messed up the calendar and everything. And truthfully, that's the part Christians don't even understand. Even if Yahweh was the true God, Christians are still doomed, because Paul released Christians from following Yahweh's holy days. But one of the 10 commandments is, thou shalt keep my holy days unto me holy. And yet the Romans took Christianity, took Christians in Europe and whatever off of a Saturday Shabbat into a Sunday Sabbath. That alone would have got you killed under Yahweh rule. They told us that Jesus, the Last Supper, and that's so sketch. I've talked about that several times too, how Matthew, Mark, and Luke, the ones who did not actually meet Jesus, go into exact same account, exact same detail verbatim of the Last Supper. But John, the one who actually did meet Jesus, because that was his cousin, is conspicuously absent in the Gospel of John, that story of the Last Supper, that part. But what people don't understand, even if Yahweh was the true God, Yeshua was keeping the Sabbath meal too, according to Matthew, Mark, and Luke. The last thing he did before they brought him in for execution was to go to, he told his apostles to go to the man with the water pitcher at the water jug at the gate and ask for him to show him the way to the upper room. And they had the Passover meal. And supposedly after they had concluded the Passover meal, he instituted a new covenant. And Paul said that because Yeshua said that that was a new covenant, that they no longer had to keep the Passover. That's a lie. Yahweh told the Jews that they had to continue to follow the Passover from now until the end of time. And if anybody wanted to continue to worship Yahweh, they can, but they had to keep the Jews' rules. They didn't get to make up their own rules and worship him something different. Anybody that wanted to join the nation of Israel and become a spiritual Israelite had to follow the Israelites' rules, including the Mosaic law, including the rules of the Passover and keeping Shabbat. All of them, not just the weekly Sabbath. They also had a Sabbath week, a Sabbath month, and a Sabbath year. And Christians don't do none of them. So no matter how they slice it, Christians, if they call themselves worshiping Yahweh, they're doomed anyway, because they're not worshiping him the way he demanded to be worshiped. Hey, Pope Clementine. The movie I mentioned, Canary Ken, was Knowing. It was Nicolas Cage. 2009 was the year that movie came out. Do I think we'll make it to an interstellar civilization, Stephen? Eventually. But not under Yahweh rule, we won't. Because they told us that in the movies too. Look at the whole premise of Star Trek. The entire premise of the whole Star Trek series, if you will, was that that no planet would be introduced to the Galactic Council, if you will, unless or until that planet's consciousness has expanded to a point that they were ready to meet their galactic brethren. And according to Star Trek, and the premise of that show was humanity, Earth, had just reached that tipping point in our consciousness that we were being invited to join the Galactic Federation. And that was the first exploration of Earth into the cosmos to start exploring and meeting folks from other planets. That was the entire premise of Star Trek. So yeah, I believe we will make it into an interstellar civilization to a degree that we'll have enough open contact to know about them and all of that. But we're not ready to receive the technology that it will take us to become truly interstellar, because we're still trying to weaponize shit. We were still out there looking for the weapons of terror. We thought it was pretty cool to go and use nuclear warheads to blow up cities on this planet. We're not ready for the kind of technology it takes to build ships to get us to another galaxy, much less another quadrant of the universe, because we're still on stuff that's we would die of old age before we get there. And the technology that it takes to go at those kinds of warp speeds and go through wormholes and all the rest of that stuff so that we could get there in enough time that we would not all have to go into a stasis for years and years, unless or until the balance of power changes on this earth and humanity's consciousness changes on this earth to stop wanting to kill each other and weaponize everything. We ain't ready. Sorry, we're just not. Told YouTube, you say you have no freedom. Yeah, I believe you. I'm sorry that you're a hostage. But if that's the case, baby, I don't know what to tell you. You can't be too much of a hostage with no freedom if you on a live stream on YouTube. If that's the case, you need to stop scrolling on YouTube and use your phone and your Wi-Fi to call emergency services wherever you're at if you're a hostage. I'm sorry. Eventually, I think we will get there, but like I said, not under Yahweh rule. It'll maybe once folks wake up and smell the coffee under Enki's rule, maybe. Niana, yeah, my email is modernmysticmessages@gmail.com. I believe it's on the about page of my channel as well, but yeah, just like it's spelled, but no spaces in between, no underscores or nothing. Just modernmysticmessages@gmail.com. Yeah, the Tower of Babel or Babel. Yeah, that was some more. That's some more Enlil Yahweh mess. Enki understood that because we have their DNA, we had the potential to equal or excel them in intelligence. And Yahweh Enlil found out about that and had an absolute shit fit. The Tower of Babel did happen according to the ancient text, and that was the point at which he chose to scatter our language, scatter people around the earth, confused the languages, and insisted that our telomeres be capped so we couldn't live long enough to figure this shit out and get wise enough to become as wise as or wiser than them. Enki has had an uphill battle the whole way. He's been trying to help enlighten us and help us evolve, and Enlil has been fighting against it from day one. Because guess what? Back when humans were living almost 1,000 years, you could kind of figure some stuff out. You could work the puzzle for a while, but if you keep recycling, if 120 is as much time as you get, you're not likely to figure it out. And when you come back, you done forgot. So now you got to start all over again. How you gonna ever fight the pit boss if you don't live long enough to actually work through the game? And that's what Enlil knew and understood. Exactly, bro, 100. And many of us knew and understood that. Eventually, once we have actually ascended in our consciousness and finished working this puzzle and actually beat the pit boss, then our consciousness may be ready to expand out into other dimensions or other sectors of the cosmos. But heaven, like they've described it in the scriptures, no, absolutely not. Well, Falcon, you sound really, really confused. You love Yeshua, but you worship Obi-Wan Kenobi and Gandalf, who ain't even real. I don't know what to tell you, bro. You want some nonsense, but that's up to you. If the writer was just trying to say he was evil and hates him, it's understandable why he'd write that way. It's not even about hating him or saying that he was evil. A lot of the texts that we're put together as the scriptures, were not trying to decide or sway it one way or the other. The Anunnaki believed in keeping records. So a lot of that stuff, especially when we're looking at the old, what we call the Old Testament, when they were, this one begot that one and they lived 600 years and they had sons and daughters and then they died. And this one begot that, which is matter of fact. It wasn't putting no judgment in it, no nothing. It's just what had happened was. It wasn't until Yahweh came along that they started putting spin on things. And he started doing kind of like Marduk did in the Babylonian context when he got to be so great. He was the creator of everything. And Marduk spun a lot of lies based on him. When it became the Yahweh story, that's when a lot of the aggrandizement started happening. Mm-hmm. Hi, Fidiku. Sadia, hi. Bloody axe. I'm telling you, you're coming here with the proselytizing, you'll get out for too much longer. Don't worry about it. And whoever you are, Swifty Panda, you ain't heard me say nothing about no reading nowhere. I have literally been on here almost 3 hours and ain't said nothing about a card reading. But I don't have to tell the future, and I'm not a goofball. You the one that sound goofy as hell. And guess what? Every reading that I've ever done resonated because my readings come from a different place that you know nothing about. You can't even access the place my readings come from talking to people like that, bro. That part. And if you don't, here's the thing, Swifty and Bloody Axe. You the ones that are goofy. If you don't believe in it and you don't resonate with it, why are you wasting your precious time up in something that you don't believe in just so you can be annoying and rude? You get the same 24 hours in a day as everybody else, and you wasting your time on something that has no benefit or relevance to you that you don't even believe in. So you disrespect your own time. Why would anybody respect you? You gonna get off of here with that? That's awesome, Antoine. Yeah, Weston. Some of them I feel like well, Montreal, these idiots don't they? I hate to call people that, but some of these people are so goofy. They honestly don't have any idea. And I'm gonna try to leave them alone. Like I said, I got Antoine got them off of here. I don't even mess with them. Some of them I just leave them alone, and hopefully they'll figure it out. And Swifty Panda is on some foolishness, but if he stick around long enough, he might actually learn something. Who knows? Half of them don't even want to learn nothing, but that's on them. They can stay ignorant long as they want to. But I definitely appreciate you, Montreal. It's amazing to me that they sit there and want to say that what I'm talking about is goofy, but they want to believe in a magic sky daddy who came here and allowed his own son to supposedly die to cover up his mistakes and tell us that we dirty and we ain't nothing. And if we believe in Sky Daddy and the fact that he was willing to unalive his own son for our sake, then when we die, instead of burning forever in hell, we can fly in heaven and eat milk and honey in heaven forever and ever, even though life here on earth was pretty much shit the whole time. But then we can get past that and get to heaven if we believe enough in Sky Daddy. But what I'm telling people is foolish. Right. Honestly, Weston, a lot of the ancient ideologies and pantheons can be difficult to understand. That's one of the reasons I think Yeshua had me go all the way back to the beginning. I don't have to keep wading through a lot of the other pantheons. If you go back to the very oldest one they could find, and they told us what happened before they came to Earth, why they came to Earth, what happened when they got to Earth, and some of what's been happening since they got to Earth, it gives a whole different context to all of the rest of that stuff. Everything else is just retellings of the story later on after they put more and more stank on the pie, so to speak. Because you think about it, by the time they got to the Egyptians, they had already been through the Akkadian, the Sumerian, the Akkadian, the Babylonian, and I forgot what's not the Phoenician, something else, but it was like 4 or 5 empires and thus 4 or 5 different religious pantheons that they had found their way through. Thousands of years had gone by the time they even get to the Egyptian, and the Egyptian is old too. But then you get into the Greek and the Roman, and it's more and more the same. It's just the exploits of these cats. They keep telling people that they're gods, even though they're not. Our resolution overall, Montreal, is to wake up and smell the coffee. Like I said, in my opinion, going back to the beginning, or as close to the beginning as we can get, and up until this point, as of right now, the Anunnaki texts are the beginning. That's the oldest that we can find anywhere. And it doesn't contradict the Bible. It just gives a a broader context to the Bible. And therefore, in my opinion, those Anunnaki texts are valid. And once we got that, and they're telling us that they're not gods, that they were astronauts that came here, why would we want to continue to argue for the limitation that they are gods just because somebody told us that 500 years ago? That's the part that these people that are so busy thumping their Bibles don't understand. Nobody had a printed Bible in that form that we look at right now today. Nobody had that Bible before 500 years ago. It wasn't that was the first printed Bible was printed 500 years ago. Before then, it was just scattered letters here and there. And when they dug them all up, they decided to put them together in a certain way to create a certain narrative. And then they started giving it to us as one particular book, the Bible. The Bible, as we know it now, did not exist until 500 years ago. So how in the world do these people so arrogantly think they got the be all and end all of all information when they're digging up stuff that's literally 40, 50, 60, 100,000 years old? And they want to just dismiss all of that as fiction and still keep clinging to this lie. And you know what happened when somebody keep repeating a story. They made you play that game telephone in school. You start at the beginning of a line, you tell 20 people standing in the same room at the same time something. And by the time it get from number 1 to number 20, it don't sound nothing like what the original phrase was. What do you think gonna happen after 30,000 years of intentional manipulation and mistelling? And yet people still want to believe that what we're being told today is the be all end all truth. That's the goofiness. That's the stupidity. To honestly think that we didn't everything else been manipulated and mishandled over time, but you really think religion was handed down purely? Again, Marduk claimed he slayed King Gu, and he claimed he slayed Tiamat as well, bro. 100. But that's what I'm saying. When you start moving out into those newer stories, the lies start coming in. That the Babylonian epic says that Marduk slayed King Gu and Tiamat. Marduk was Enki's son. How in the world he lived long enough to slay Tiamat, and Tiamat had exploded long before the Anunnaki ever thought about coming to Earth. That was Marduk with some of his self-aggrandizing lies, because he was on that whole type of I'm the only one, the invisible. Him and Enlil both was on that sky daddy nonsense, some egotistical claptrap, because they wanted to be worshipped like that. Exactly, Weston. A God sacrificing himself to serve as a loophole for rules he created is not a good basis for fiction or a religion. It is not a good God at all. And what make it even worse is that he tells this story of sacrificing his son, but he told Abraham to sacrifice his son. And people are willingly worshiping somebody that thinks it's cool to sacrifice your children. But when didn't he eat his own children as Zeus? In the Greek pantheon, he ate one of his children. He violated his wife. The only reason that went any better than it did was because she chose to forgive him and marry him anyway. But he violated her. Maybe that's why in the scriptures there's several cases of women being violated and it really won't that big of a deal. Oh, except when Diana did it, they used that as an excuse to unalive the whole tribe of men because some folks had violated Diana, and they used trickery to convince those men that they would be forgiven, but they needed to become spiritual Israelites, and meaning they needed to be circumcised. So when they all got circumcised while they was laid up in their sick beds from being circumcised, Diana's folks went in and unalived all of them men. But other than that, the ones that when the man gave his concubine or his servant girl to the men of the city so that they wouldn't uh try to attack the beautiful, probably angels, messengers, Anunnaki, they wouldn't have nothing to do with them and attack those men. Yeah, they violated her all night until she died the next morning, and Yahweh didn't have no problem with that. No, Montreal, in the part where it talks about Marduk and Tiamat is in the Enuma Elish, which was a Babylonian text, I believe. Well, keep on rocking on. Well, the thing is, because the idea of what we were given for God is a complete made up story in the beginning. That's why I say I was led back to the beginning, to the lost book of Enki. And in that book, it tells us who they were, what happened before they got here to Earth, why they came here to Earth, how and why they fashioned humans that let us make man in our image, why that happened, and the fact that Enlil was the one who insisted that we have a worship gene installed in us, and insisted that we were never to see their faces and that we were never to know that they are not gods. And in the lost book of Enki, he felt so bad about what went down. He had an existential crisis because he knew that they were either tempting fate or messing with destiny, one of the two, and he felt like they would be judged for it eventually. But he said he wanted to set the record straight because he saw the trajectory that humanity was heading on by buying into Enlil's lies, and he wanted to put some things right. So he had his scribe Undupsar write the lost book of Enki. And he hid those tablets away in an acacia chest and said that he hoped at some point in the future one of the chosen ones would find it and be able to translate it and be able to shed some light on what was happening here on the planet. And as it so happened, when they start uncovering, like I said, the archaeologists start uncovering all of these ancient texts and stuff, and the text got into the hands of Zechariah Sitchin, who was very uniquely suited for that work because he happened to have been born in either Israel or Palestine, but he could read ancient Hebrew, ancient Aramaic, and cuneiform. So he was very uniquely suited to be the one that was able to translate the lost book of Enki. You say you won't bring up the Talmud when you talk about violating women? Yeah. Oh, happy Sunday or Saturday to you. Well, it's Sunday morning here for me now, but yeah, happy Saturday to you, warrior above, within, without. The Nephilim, it was at the wedding of Sarpanet. Well, truthfully, technically, some of what we would call Nephilim would have been just part of the Adama of the breeding project they did anyway. Because not Enlil. Enlil did not mate or loan his DNA or anything to humans at all. He thought we was like animals. He thought that was just gross. But Lord Enki did mate with multiple humans along that process to actually give birth to some Anunnaki hybrids. It wasn't just the Watchers, but that was like the largest um, incident of the crossbreeding like that when they came down at the wedding of Sarpanet and Marduk, and they took those women, and the Nephilim came out of it. But yeah. Um, yeah, Weston, but truthfully, it's not even about convincing people of absurdities. He felt like he could tell this egoic lie, and he told them that he was a god and we were never going to see their faces, and that's just the way it was going to be. You're right, bro, 100. The only reason we are still here, the only reason we got here in the first place was because of Lord Enki. The only reason we're still here is because of Lord Enki. Every single time humanity has faced extinction, Enlil wanted us gone. He even went back to the Galactic Council on Nibiru to see to it that we would be gone. Enki defied the council's rule to keep us here, mainly because his son was one of the ones he wanted to save. Noah, Ziazudra, was Lord Enki's son. And the messenger of the creator of all, Galzu, came to Lord Enki and told him humanity is to be preserved, and gave him the dimensions of the ark and how to do it and all the rest of that, and they went ahead and obeyed. Hi, Ronnie Williams. Y'all, I just realized it is after midnight and I do want to come online tomorrow. So I am going to have to get up off of here. I definitely had a good time tonight and appreciate all of you. But it is after midnight. So barbecue sauce, if you don't know who Lord Enki is, go back to my um playlist, Modern Mystic Loved Ones. I got tons of stuff on there. Go to the playlist. Not the Emerald Tablets, the Lost Book of Enki on my channel. There's plenty. I don't have at this point in time at 12:18. If you don't know who Lord Enki is, you're gonna have to start from the very beginning. And I don't have another 3 hours to spend here online to explain it to you, but I have plenty of pre-recorded information on the channel that will let you know who Lord Enki is. I highly encourage you to start with the Lost Book of Enki. I actually read the book here on the channel, and that'll let you know. Lunar Beats. I'm trying to think tomorrow if I can get on for this live. I'm gonna try to be on here by like 6 or 7. I'd like to be on a little earlier. I am gonna try to do some tarot a bit earlier in the day. I've got a few personal readings that I want to get done, but if I can get them done on time, I might come on and do a little tarot online earlier in the day for those who are, wanting that. But as far as this, I'm gonna try to be on by 7 tomorrow. I know I was late coming on tonight, but yeah, 7 Eastern time tomorrow. You said to be completely open-minded, human DNA is that rich and powerful that we can procreate with subspecies. No, Montreal. First off, that's a very arrogant way of thinking. What would make you think that the Anunnaki are a subspecies? They're not a species. They're a whole different planetary beings. They engineered us by, and it wasn't no easy. We in the Bible we hear that one and done story. Oh, he blew into the breath of life into the dust of the earth. That's a lie. According to the Lost Book, the Adamu project was not an instant success. They had several failed attempts, and it literally took them probably about 6 or 7 thousand years, our time, to actually come up with a viable being. It may have even been longer than that. Okay. So we couldn't just automatically do that. And even then, Adam and Eve were not initially fertile. It wasn't until Thoth had been continuing to study the genome and figured out how to fix it. He took Adam and Eve and Enki and Ninma into the laboratory and put all 4 of them to sleep, and took DNA from Enki and put it in Adam's side, and took DNA from Ninma and put that in Eve's side, and that allowed them, that extra boost of Anunnaki DNA allowed them to be fertile. Have a good night at work. Thank you. So it wasn't that we could just automatically procreate with other species. It wasn't until they actually perfected the human genome that was possible. And even then, the Adamic line, Adam and Eve, began to devolve after about 100,000 years, according to the Lost Book. And Enki went back in and began to manually shore up the human genome by selectively mating with other humans. He made it with Dawn and Dusk to have TT and Adapa. Adapa and TT were called the first civilized man, and anthropological records support that. They showed that humanity kind of shot up in the evolutionary timetable and then began like culture, the artwork and all of that stuff, tools, everything began to decline for a long time. And then about 11,000 years ago, it shot back up again, which is exactly what they said happened in the Lost Book of Enki. But yeah, we'll get on that more tomorrow. And you have a good night as well, by His grace, Marie. You're welcome, Valerie. Thank all of you all for joining me. Good night, beautiful souls. Lunar Beats, Montreal, Valerie, Bro 100, Barbecue sauce by His Grace, Weston Campbell, Montreal Farm. Good night, good night. Thank you so much, Antoine, as well as the other mods that have been in here this evening. Appreciate you. Alive and Thriving. It's on the channel. Again, if you're just coming along and you're not aware, subscribe to the channel and go into some of my playlists here and start listening to the information. I get everything that I've gotten out of a book, a webcast, something from people that have made it their life's work to discuss it. We're going through Zechariah Sitchin's work now, beautiful soul who spent his entire life discussing this information. So we're going to continue to go through it. But yeah, it's not something that I can just bring you up to speed in a 15-minute conversation. Not if you're questioning it, because I'm sitting here telling you what's happening and you're still coming at me with, where did I get this info? Out of a book that they found and translated from other information that they dug up out the ground, that archaeologists have been doing that for a couple hundred years now. Moon Shadow, you just answered your own question. God doesn't need a laboratory to create, but God didn't create us such as it is. God didn't show up after Genesis chapter 1, verse 1. Everything else that showed up by the time we get to Genesis chapter 2 is the Anunnaki. And Lord Enki, Ninmah, and Thoth were geneticists. They were the prime geneticists on the Adamu project when they came here from Nibiru. All right, all right. Good night, all y'all. Have a good one, a good one, a good one. Good night, Righteous Reaper. I hope you get some truth in you, because I ain't spewing nothing. I refuse to continue to spew lies, but I'm gone now, because you want some foolishness and it don't even matter. Adios.